to. I need someone to be able to take the fight against NiKo. Perhaps, I don't know if it's NiKo, single-handedly ruling that team or dictating where they're going to go. But I've also heard rumors, in terms of what Aleksib couldn't get done and how sometimes NiKo would overrule a call from Aleksib, etc., etc. Obviously, we don't know whether or not that's true, and we don't know how much that's happening. We don't know how the environment is in practice, but I know for a fact that Tabston would be one of the few profiles, to me at least, who would be able to go into that team and tell NiKo to shut the hell up, if he needs to shut the hell up. And I think someone has to take that fight.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse. The K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Season 6, Episode 23, HLTV Confirmed, 24th of July, 2022, and it's a season wrap-up. We're going to talk fast because we got lots to get into today. So welcome to the show. We're going to thank our sponsors, as always, M1Bet, gamble responsibly, Xtrfy, they'll make you look extra fly in the server. Get yourself some gear. Head over to the website. I'm not going to spell that one more time. And Bitskins, you can trade some skins. You can get yourself a dragon lore, I guess. They probably got like a knife.
Also look extra fly in the server, actually.
That's true. You might need a combination with Xtrfy and Bitskins, and then, you're together. You make it all work. It could be a bit of fun. I feel when I say Bitskins now, boys, and none of you have probably played this, Battle Bit Remastered. You've all got to get on it. Next time you're having a gaming session and you just want to shoot some shit just mindlessly, they're releasing it in dribs and drabs at the moment. But I'm talking to myself because I haven't introduced the panel. Prof, you've had a week since Cologne. How are you feeling?
Amazing. Feeling awesome.
Okay. We like amazing.
I don't know what to add to that. Except,
I don't know. You might be like, it sucks now. There's no Counter-Strike to watch. I'm bored.
No, I'm actually super excited to get this show underway and then go into like a kind of a mini hibernation period. But I'm also very excited for the show. So
you're going to be in a comatose state post this podcast. Fair enough.
Maybe
Striker,
I was before as well. Who knows?
But yeah, true. It is Sunday. There's no judgment early in the evening. Striker, we didn't have you last time around because you're a little bit sick.
Yep.
How you feeling now?
Still I've been kind of like at the same point for like a week, basically since the show, or maybe even a little bit after that, where I'm kind of almost fine, but not really. So I've been in this state for like 8 days, and I'm like, when is this gonna end?
Maybe never. You could have the long COVID, mate. It could be all over for you. You never know. You might be.
No, I mean, I feel fine. It's just kind of like the throat and nose, whatever, and that's it.
There you go. See that it's already. Hold up a second. We got Mr. Jacob Pimp Vinicky here. We can't put your name apparently in the titles right now, so I don't know what's going on with that. I thought you're a Twitch part. That was in Twitch, right, Prof?
Yep, just a title on Twitch.
But you can't use the word pimp.
They said it looked sus, and I was like, "What are you talking about? It's just pimp." But they're kind of right, actually.
Like everywhere else, they're trying to get rid of me, man. I can't do anything about it.
There's a lot of pimp detractors. I see him, Jacob. Don't let him fucking get into you, mate.
I'm good.
Just silence them. Just block them out. Put some cotton buds in your ear. But we got you here this evening. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to make some wild claims here this evening, of course. That's basically what we do around here. But Lucas, just say hello to everybody so they know that you're still here.
Hello, chat. I have something for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a small hat here.
You have a small hat.
Oh,
yes. There we go.
Okay. Are you gonna try and place it on my head, or is it just gonna sit there on the corner of the
sit
screen?
there for the whole show.
Okay. All right. It feels more, is it more like a dunce hat?
No, it says happy birthday.
Okay. Fair enough. I still feel a little bit isolated here, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Lucas.
So happy birthday, and also happy birthday to Launders.
Yes, we do share a birthday with the 24th of July. Me and
you kind of look similar. You are twins.
That's her name, Sarah something or other. I went to school with her. She had the same birthday too. Look,
happy birthday, Sarah.
I got a question about Prof's backdrop.
Yeah.
Prof, what's going on?
Bro, I'm homeless. That's just how it is. I'm homeless, and it's just a white wall.
No, look, I get it. It kind of feels like you're on the way to heaven right now. You know, you're kind of in the waiting room. You're the guy we talked to. It's very clean.
I mean, I might as well be. Who knows? In a couple of weeks, how I've been living, everything's on the cards.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
You can come stay with me if you want to, man. It's okay.
Yeah, I'd rather go to heaven, I think.
Wow.
Or hell.
Okay.
Well, we've got the banter beginning early here between the two of them. Let's try and get into a bit of the chit chat here, shall we? Because we're doing a season wrap up. We also have some, I guess, awards to hand out later. They have a bit of a fun name that Prof came up with, but we'll wait till we get there. We're just going to jump into it. We'll get to the recent news after. We'll start with IEM Cologne getting back into the arena, having the 3 days of competition there, culminating in that best of 5 final. Strike, could they break the... I see, this is the thing. I see the headline. I don't click the article as usual. The headline reads, IEM Cologne final becomes most watched non-major CSGO match of all time. Yep. So what was it before that, just for the viewers at home?
Goes with the Katowice final.
Okay, so we feel like we're trending up still.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was just by a little, maybe like 30K or something like that. So it's not like a massive like record-breaking thing, but it is a new non-major record that we had for. It was literally right at the end of as we went to 16-14 or something. I think we broke the record. So it was just basically, if it doesn't go to 30 rounds, we don't break the record. So that just kind of speaks to what that final was, you know.
Could have been good with a couple more overtimes in there as well.
Yeah.
Jacob, where were you participating in proceedings from? What was your perspective?
Yeah, I was doing it on Danish television, so unfortunately I didn't get to go to Cologne this time around. I guess from the outside perspective, looked like an amazing event as always. You kind of get that vibe, you know, whenever you're watching, even on world feeds and from Danish TV. It's just a special tournament with a special audience. I feel like the way I always describe it on Danish TV for all the noobs out there, basically, who's never watched Counter-Strike, which is sort of my audience on Danish TV, is that it's just Counter-Strike taking over the entire city of Cologne. That's what it feels like when you go to that tournament, right? No matter where you go during the weekend, there's Counter-Strike jerseys everywhere. Everyone seems to be in love with it, and that kind of like vibe got sent over the television channel as well. So from my perspective, despite not being there, another great Cologne edition.
There's also the Pride month there, and usually there's just some sort of a celebration at the same time. So I don't know about all of it being about Counter-Strike, but you know, to each their own.
You got the Pride Parade and the FaZe jerseys, right? They do mesh on Zubac Straße when everyone gets drunk. But what was the turnout like for that, Jacob, in terms of viewers? Because obviously Astralis with a deep run, it has been a while since they've had one of them. Were the fans all about it? Was it that classic fanfare in the news and everything again? Because I know Heroic still don't get that same shine.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, Denmark is happy when Astralis is doing well. In terms of viewership, I actually don't know the exact numbers, but you can usually, you know, measure it in social media engagement, like the groups, the Facebook, the Twitter was popping off. So I reckon there was quite a lot of people watching, but it's not a secret that with Astralis' downfall and them being basically shit for 2 years now, right, has done a little bit to the viewership in Denmark as well. No one really likes Heroic. No one wants to say it out loud, but compared to Astralis, they're nothing in Denmark still for whatever reason.
Might have to win a couple majors, I guess, to make their legacy that way, right? Okay, so did we have any other like takeaways with the return? Like, it was obviously the atmosphere was great. Jacob just touched on that. I think it was good to see it getting packed up to the rafters again. Yeah. The fans were great, right?
I think a cool storyline kind of developing through like Antwerp and Katowice, not maybe that much, is like these ultras clubs kind of forming, like the fan supporters for specific teams. This time around, we saw the big guys. Roaring Bears they had like a nice turnout, and they had this whole like story with Movistar riders, which is kind of cool. It was G2 and Vitality had a bunch of people at some of the previous events, so that's kind of developing in an interesting direction. Yeah, so just gonna be kind of keeping an eye out on that, like some of these like more hardcore supporter fans coming to events, having flags, having more interesting chants than "Let's go Liquid, let's go." So that's a cool thing developing. I like
We're
that.
always taking shots at North America around here. We might have.
I mean, we do that. It's the same for FaZe and all of the most teams. So I think it's cool. I think Brazilian fans at the major for Furia had some cool chants. I don't know what they said, and I feel like it's probably just football chants, kind of reused for the K-Serat or whoever. But it's cool to just have something new.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can maybe get into some. We'll see where the general thoughts take us here. Now we got the N1 moment next here in the proceedings proper. We're gonna jump into that now.
Yeah, let's just throw it in. That's also like one of these like kind of fun tidbits that happened during Cologne. Was that funny case opening situation in the crowd? I think also one thing that happened was that like Red Bull big after party, which was like pretty huge. I didn't go, but it looked like a big city / fan event that kind of pulled all people together. And also there was like this HLTV confirmed show that was live.
That was good too. Yeah, no, it was great to have the turnout there as well. We're getting Lucas just to bring up the clip right now from Reddit. This was in the arena. I think most of you probably would have seen it. This is the case opening that was happening live. And I think Alex and I were either like on the stage at some point, or because we saw these cheers and we're like, what the fuck is going on over there? Maybe they were talking to the guys on the desk. But someone's on their laptop opening cases and the crowd's going wild. It's that's kind of the fun antics, right, that were going on. That's the N1 moment presented by N1 Bet. But yeah, I think that kind of summarizes the vibe, right? Everyone was doing the beer snakes. There's people that we saw at the podcast who then we saw around in the arena and stuff. People were. I walked around the venue one of the days just to kind of take it all in. It was great, right? It's the impartial crowd. They're there just to watch the Counter-Strike. Maybe they would have a favorite who they wanted to win. In that final, it was definitely FaZe with a couple more cheers. But what's the user's name there, Lucas? My eyes are getting bad, man. I'm getting old. There it is. Alana F. We'll go with that. Alana F. 7 days ago. There you go. So now there it is. We've given the credit. That was Alana F. posted that on the Reddits. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're done summarizing that shit. Let's keep it moving, shall we? Everyone good with that?
Yeah, sir.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. I want to talk a little bit. Do I do it now? Do I save it for another one? There's so much to talk about. There's so many things. Fuck it. Let's just talk about the Counter-Strike. And if I have the energy later, then we'll talk about maybe some of the stuff around the event. Okay. Let's talk about MOUZ, who obviously took on Astralis in the quarterfinal. This was actually for majority of them, other than Frozen, one of their first times on a stage of this caliber. I saw people having a conversation in some threads somewhere saying, "Oh, Degster played on a stage at a DreamHack event." I think people really miss what we're talking about when we talk about like stage events, right? Like a little DreamHack event, which is a bit more like an expedition, right? Like as opposed to like a full scale massive arena event. There's a big difference, right? And when that conversation comes through, that's the point of it. Because when you're playing in front of maybe even, I don't know, 100, 500 people, the roar of the crowd, it's not going to make a big difference, right? You're not going to look out and you're not going to get lost in that people. And maybe if you do, then I guess you're going to have even a harder time on a big stage like this. But I saw that conversation. I thought MOUZ especially summed up by I think it was the Torji interview after. He just had a smile on his face. He was like, yeah, we enjoyed it. I just enjoyed the moment there. I want to throw straight out the gates here. Let's go with this. We can cut off the bullshit that I'm hitting right now. Do we think that MOUZ have bought this roster more time with this performance? Are they now, they've got themselves another 6 months? Because obviously going into this event, it wasn't looking great for MOUZ.
I would say so. I think this is, especially the way they kind of broke it down and explained why it happened. It was kind of a rejigging of some of the roles after Dallas and like having these like deep conversations, going through everything like in and out of the server, and then getting more consistency out of their key trio that needed to be better, essentially. And Frozen first, Torji has been pretty consistent throughout the year, and then BMOS had a good group stage and then shit the bed on the stage, unfortunately. But he got them there at least, and that, as you said, this is their best result of the year and one of the biggest events. I feel like this is enough to give them a bit more time to work with this lineup.
All right, I'm going to throw you a grenade right now, Jake. Are you ready for this?
Okay, yeah.
So I saw you nod along in agreement with what Prophet just said about, yeah, it has bought them more time. But do you think it should have bought them more time? Or do you think this is like the flash in the pan, okay, sick, and maybe now MOUZ just simmer out and they stay out of the playoffs for the rest of the year?
I feel like one of the worst things sometimes that can happen to a bad team is success, basically, because it will buy them more time, right? The players, the team, MOUZ as an organization, they'll look at that run-up now and think, okay, we just discovered some new potential, or we discovered that we are actually, decent at Counter-Strike given the circumstances. Also that I guess we'll address, IEM Cologne being the last tournament before the summer break as well. There was a lot of, I don't like to call them dead rosters, right? But there's a lot of rosters knowing they were going to make change. There was a lot of rosters coming into that tournament, not really in the best circumstances as well. So I feel for MOUZ, it wasn't a cheap way of doing it, because the way they played Counter-Strike was solid on the server. The teams they took down was also very solid. I was impressed with them, but to be completely honest, as much as I would like MOUZ to be a success, if you want me to be honest, right, I think it's a relatively weak team who found a bit of success right here, and it will give them another 2 or 3 months to try to figure it out whether or not they can find that consistency. But from my point of view, I doubt it. I've been watching them for the vast majority for 6 months, and they've been looking awful pretty much throughout the entire year. So I'm happy they found success, but yeah, it's not a team that I'm banking on for the future.
It's an interesting spot, right? Because we come into this final and we spoke about it. We beat the horse to death, really, didn't we? But it was obviously the top 2 teams in the world, and then everybody else outside the top 10. So it's really hard to put a marker on this. I think we saw with the interview from Trace from Astralis the other day, saying there were not going to be any changes. Now, look, to be honest, that's not the first time we've heard from anybody in Astralis saying there won't be changes. Then a couple of months later, there've been changes, right? That's not the conversation here. But it's the same kind of thing with Astralis. Like, they've had a pretty rough season up until this point, and then they have a good showing, make it to the semi-finals of one of the biggest events of the year, and they okay, yeah, look, but is it slapping a Band-Aid on? And I want to throw you this question now, Striker, with those 2 points in mind. Do you think for a team like MOUZ, let's say that maybe this is the wrong call, but maybe they do have some confidence and maybe they do get their shit together, but it could hit a team like this less harsh because they have that stock of academy players just hanging by the wayside, ready to grab someone if they're not happy? Or do you think that this academy team that has kind of been following the main team around like a bad smell is more of an issue and puts them in more of a position where people go, oh, look how well the academy team's doing beating noobs, right? And then they're getting held to that kind of, you know what I mean, though? Do you think it's like a positive thing or a negative thing? Because I don't know how to weigh it up. I would hate to have that follow me all the time, and then the community like, oh, just get this guy from the academy team. Like, it's never that simple, and it's completely different calibers of Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are calling for like the academy team to be promoted to the main squad, and that somehow making MOUZ better, like that team, obviously, the academy team has been competing like tier 3, tier 2, and doing like reasonably well. But this is not a team, like if they did really well, they would qualify for one of these events, and they would be able to play there and be at that level. But obviously, they're not. That's what you're saying, right? They're basically beating a lot of other academy teams, and that's mostly it. Outside of some of the tier 3 stuff. In general, I feel like MOUZ, like just going back to the conversation about whether they should have bought MOUZ more time. I mean, this is a young roster, so that's something that definitely goes in their favor, especially with somebody like JDC still being relatively new to this level. I think the biggest problem MOUZ have had the entire time is kind of their firepower was not enough. They just didn't have a third guy who would be there consistently, kind of alongside Frozen and Torji. BMOS has been there, on and off. JDC has been there on and off, but nobody's been there consistently. I think that's the biggest thing that they're missing from becoming a bit of a more of a threat to the top 10 teams. And so a little bit more time to some of these young guys could do like a lot of good, but it's just kind of like at the moment, how much time is that? Is that going to be 6 months? Is that going to be in a year where we see, some JDC or let's say BIMAS just grow into more of a third star player for the team? I'm not so sure. So just going to have to see, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think this thing with the MOUZ issue, right, and just to build on all these points, because I don't know if they should stick with this roster or not. I'm impartial on either way. I think the biggest issue is returning to those stages consistently is going to be a bit of a problem, because you think about how many we're going to have of those towards the tail end of the year, like Blast Group Stage into Pro League. Neither of those are going to be in anything crazy of a stage environment. They have to qualify, right, for the Blast Showdown, not the Blast Showdown, the Blast Fall Finals, right? Yeah. That's going to be one of our biggest arena matches other than the Major. The Major will be 8. The Blast Fall Finals, depending on what format they have, I think like 6 teams ended up playing in that arena, right? I forget exactly the amount. Maybe it was only 4 or 5. Either way, I think a lot of them still played in that arena. And then after that, it starts to be very few and far between. I don't know what the world finals like at the end of the year. Yeah.
I also feel like what Striker said is important to note. Like MOUZ Sports are kind of a budget organization, let's say. I mean, they're not the cheapest org out there, but they also can't compare to like a Liquid or some of these other orgs like Astralis. The amount they pay for their players alone is much higher. So even if MOUZ is just like a top 10 borderline team, I feel like that's okay for what they're paying and the the team that they have right now. It's mostly young players. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, if they can just have like a couple of playoff appearances and not be like just group stage exits all the time, then that can be okay. And if there's like some development of the players.
I feel like that's the key point right here for me, at least. Like, it's about having realistic expectations to MOUZ. I know all the players like to say all the time that obviously they play Counter-Strike to win trophies and win tournaments, but most teams are aware, you know, that there's only like 6, 7, 8 teams who, realistically speaking, should have those expectations going into every tournament. I feel like so for MOUZ, like, I agree, if they can pull off a playoff more, you know, in 22, that even in itself would be a success criteria for me. But it's like, once MOUZ has experienced the success we're seeing right here with a top 6 finish at Cologne, where they actually get into the quarterfinal, for whatever reason, their fans, you know, and the recency bias is going to come into full effect. And now everyone will start to knack down on you if you say they're not good or if they can't qualify for a playoff again because you just did it at Cologne. And it's about having realistic expectations. You know, MOUZ is not a team that, neither with the budget or the philosophy they built the team around, with the academy players, are supposed to be in the top 10 of Counter-Strike. So it's more so a debate to their fans, right? Set realistic expectations, and that way you avoid getting hurt when someone like me saying, you know, they're not a good team and they're not most likely gonna be a top 8 team in the world.
Yeah, I think
curious. Yeah, sorry, Striker, go.
Yeah, I think the main kind of problem with MOUZ is the fact that they have overperformed consistently with their rosters over the years. You know, if you look at, you know, let's say 3 years ago when they still had that Oscar, Sunny, Rob's roster, you know, that was a team built around players that haven't really been proven. You know, maybe Oscar, you can make that an argument for Hellraisers, a little bit Sunny, but Rob's was obviously just a guy they got out of FBL. Obviously, you know, he became a massive star for them, but nobody really knew whether that was going to happen. We knew he had some talent, but we didn't know Robs would grow into a player that he is now, right? So who is to say that they didn't get somebody like that in a JDC or in a BIMAS who's still kind of in development and not going to reach that, right? So that's kind of what I see as the biggest problem with MOUZ and kind of the fan expectations of them. Because as Prav said, like, this is not an organization that goes for big bucks and just like gets big players out of teams. They've always gone for talent development to a degree. And this is kind of still going along those lines. And yeah, if they go around top 10, I think that's okay for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it was good to see it. Anyway, I mentioned Torzy in the interview being, you know, pretty content with just playing on the stage, right? So good experience for the young guns there. Hopefully more to come from this roster, because they've obviously been up against it from a community perspective for the majority of the early stages of this year. Let's move into Astralis. We already touched on them quite a lot. Another team who pumped up the rankings here. So Astralis, with their placing a fifth in the world. They went up 6 spots. There's another team who I think is going to find themselves in the same trap, or potentially the same trap as what we were just talking about there, and with the MOUZ situation. Right now, when I was talking about some of these matches, I had the opportunity to commentate the NAVI versus Astralis game, and the reason that Mirage game got so huge was like Farley was finding a shitload of opening kills with the AWP, right? Like, I remember that vividly. Config went beast mode again, right? They had those things go. Like, Blame was losing battles in Connector consistently, and the game was still getting mega close. And then I think Blame even turned it around in the later stages of that match and was still one of the better players in that Mirage game, I think. And there was a 1917 that gave us a little bit of excitement in those semifinals, but kind of went the way we expected it. This is the thing. Is this another trap? Right, we spoke about it with Astralis, Prof. With MOUZ. I'll throw this one to you, Prof. With Astralis here, is this a situation where they should be looking to make a roster change? And even if they should, what's going on? Like, who are they getting? Who are they replacing? There's so many questions, right?
Yeah, I think I did an interview with Trace, the one that you referred to, I think. And just before it, I was like, you know, I'm gonna ask some tough questions. I'm just gonna be honest. And he's a fucking massive guy, so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't ask him any tough questions, but let's still stick to it. One of the things that I asked is like, this is a great result, but does it actually provide any answers? Like, for me, he gave his answer. It doesn't even matter. But the way I see it, this is like the crutch random result that doesn't really solve anything for them, because you look at the way they played. And it was, again, the same shit there, where BlameF is going to have these like 25 kills every game. And then Config, if he's on, like he was on in this tournament, they're going to be beating some good teams. Farley was pretty awful. Okay, maybe he had like a couple of decent maps, but overall, over the whole tournament, it's very poor. So I feel like there is still, not still, but like if he still has not developed and nothing has changed for Farley in this lineup in like 5 months or something, then I don't know. I don't think there are any excuses left. Like, you don't need to, they're still talking about like having more time and a new roster. Like, this isn't they had enough time. I feel like they had enough time to figure stuff up. Maybe they're gonna have like a big rehaul after the break and like change things up. But I don't believe in these things that like you can have a 0.87 rating upper become like a 1.10 rating upper over some, you know, role changes on the team.
Yeah, I think it's we all know what the issues are with this current roster, right? Like you can understand the roles of Glaive and Zip and you can put them to one side, right? You can do that in your head, but that requires the other three of them to be of the star trio for the team, right? And then you look to Farley, but then you also need to look to Config, who is, you know, hot and cold like a Katy Perry song, right? Like it's but like really, if he can find that consistent form, I think we all know how sick Config can be, but it's not consistent. And if you can't get a player consistent in that role, then you need somebody to alleviate some of the load, which means that the AWPer needs to get a little bit more done. And then that falls on Farley, obviously, right? Because if Config can't find you the entries, Glaive's aggressive moves aren't working, then the AWPer needs to do it. And because, you know, it's less likely to come from Blame and it's less likely to come from Zip. So you can see where the solutions may lie, but then do you go more aggressive? Do you go, okay, well, do we trade out someone who, you know, is here doing a bit more of a role player and see if we can get a player out of a little bit more, like people talking about replacing Zip with but he signed that contract, right? So this is another issue. It's like, are Astralis okay with just being a top 10 team? Because I think they could hover and they could get the results, because the field right now, if you're being honest with yourself, is not mega strong, especially with the rumors we're going to get into about some of these roster changes as well, right? The field is doing a bit of rebuilding to catch up to FaZe and NAVI. And this is the conversation we had during the live podcast, Prof, where we were like, do they need a change of philosophy, a change of approach, right? Those conversations that we were having back then was exactly what these teams are going to be discussing now in their break. And I don't know how Astralis find themselves in this. Do they go, oh, we got confidence now. Config's got confidence now. We're good. I don't know. I'm not trying to detract from it. He played like a fucking monster. I just don't know like how you replicate that, because
he's the most consistently inconsistent player. Like, you know, it's not gonna continue. It's just, we've seen it so many times.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one for me to chat about Astralis. Does anyone have too much they want to pick up here? Like, I know that everyone.
I think Pimp needs to say something about Astralis.
Is Device coming, Pimp? Is he coming?
Fucking hope so, man. That would solve quite a few issues.
Where's he bought property? Where have we seen him recently? You know, are there any rumors?
I don't know. Copenhagen, I believe. You know, going out and enjoying himself. I don't know whether or not he's still sick or not, and I don't know whether or not that's truth. But apparently, he's been seen out a couple of times. You know, hanging out and having a good time, which he's obviously allowed to do. But fucking hell, man! I hope he comes back to Astralis. I was biting my tongue, you know, in order not to jump in right here, because Astralis is you're laying it out pretty well here. You know, they're going into the same trap now. All the Danish fans, especially when I do Astralis on Danish TV, right? I have to be a little bit more careful with how I word things, and that's not my strength, I'd say, but. Spinx having, you know, a 1.01 event, and everyone is going crazy, saying that we shouldn't have hated on Spinx and saying that he's been great all the time and he's just a support player, yada, 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 yada. If you watch Astralis play, and I'm going to take the hardcore nerdy look at it right here. If you watch Astralis play and you see around where Astralis is left in a 3v3, where you have Farley, Spinx, and Blame F left in around, it doesn't matter whatever the fucking situation is on the server, nothing happens on the server whatsoever. If it's a CT side retake, nothing happens. If it's a T side where someone has to create space or make a play or do something proactive in order to create a scenario that is potentially winnable, absolutely fuck all happens on the server. You cannot have a Counter-Strike team that is fighting to be within top 10, even, I'd say, consistently, have three players who are so similar in their approach and so scared of making the right plays. Blame F is a guy who's like, he needs space to be created around him, right? He needs his config. And I'm going to take the football analogy right here and may lose a couple of you guys. But when you have an attack or midfield, you know, that is not hanging together with your defense, right? There's too much space between the lines, then nothing good will come out of that. You have individuals who can pop off once in a while. You have individuals who, like Farley, you know, once out of Blue Moon, have a good performance on Mirage. But there's no consistency to be built around the Astralis lineup right now. I feel very strong about that they are most definitely and should most definitely look into change. But as we see, you know, they put a bandage on, you know, they're doing pretty well at Cologne, getting a 6th place at a tournament where everyone is coming in a bit of a bad shape and would stand in left, right, and center. And now we have another 6 months of Astralis being, you know, just average, and I'm getting sick and tired of it.
I think one angle is like, oh, maybe the system isn't good for uppers in Astralis, and I think that is to some degree true. Like if we look at like how Lucky was used, wasn't ideal, and then Farley, especially early on, seemed to be like kind of isolated, not having enough room. But at the same time, I feel like if we had a really good upper come into Astralis and struggle, then I would be more confident in saying like it's an Astralis problem versus it's the player problem. Like if they got NiKo and NiKo fell off, then I'd be okay. Glaive, you know, needs to figure his shit out here, and the Trace needs to use the upper better. But the uppers that they got weren't that crazy to begin with. They were never like top 20 players or even anything close to that. So when they struggle, I really feel like it should be on the player to also do better. And I think that is a solution that they lost now, because it inside NiKo, who went to fucking Fnatic out of all teams, as if they are spending big money. Like, come on, man. It is
kind of crazy, right? That this seems to be the never-ending story around Astralis, though, is the fact that they miss the talent.
They miss out, yeah.
Yeah, and that is just that's a common thread here. So I don't know. Like,
I'll just kind of to wrap it up. People are like, plus Valde, plus Device. Like, that's a fucking old team now. If they do that,
that's a really old team. Yeah.
That's an old team.
They
can still do it. But there is no like future in that, like longevity in that lineup. Like, Blame F is the future, but other than that, no, I don't know. Don't feel hot about that.
No, it's fair enough. I think the jury's still out, and that's the thing with some of these results we had right at this event. All right, we happy to keep moving? You happy to keep moving, Striker?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, cool. Let's jump into the Movistar Riders now. I want to ask the question here, and you know what? I'm going to answer it about Movistar Riders, but I want people to kind of follow it up here with what they think, because when I was watching them play on the stage, right, it's one thing for them to win the Challenger event in Valencia. It's another thing here to run the gauntlet, make it to the playoff stage of a huge event. It's then you bring into the fact the inexperience of these players at this level, even though they've constantly been grinding in the tier 2, right? Over the last couple of years, that's what they've been doing, grinding. Some pious with like star level performances right up until the end, where eventually it stopped. It was going to stop, but like the fact that this team, they sell it, like they looked like the full package to me on stage. Like, they look like a team we can get behind the underdog story. Great, right? They're from a region that we don't see a lot from. They seem like they're a likable bunch of guys, right? There doesn't seem like there's anybody on that team that we don't have a reason to like. When they're on stage and they're playing, they're celebrating. They're showmen, right? They're obviously not like a Carrigan or anything, but they're passionate. They're not just sitting there like, you know, the emotionless Finns. They're getting fired up after they win. They're like getting the crowd involved and stuff. So when I ask the question here of, are they the full package, right? This is the thing. Are these going to be a team that we're going to expect to see within the, I don't know, the 16 big boys of the world on a consistent basis? Have they broken through? Have they done enough? Are Movistar like here now? Are we're considering them a team to be concerned about for the future of, I don't know, I guess this next 6 months is probably as far as we look ahead in Counter-Strike at the moment. Are they here to play, or are they another name that we might just be losing again?
I think so.
To anyone. Yeah,
I think so personally. Okay. Yeah, because we saw it during the PGL major in Stockholm as well, where they're playing pretty well in the AMA event, qualifying as well, almost qualifying and doing a good job. You know, I felt the Counter-Strike they played back then was decent, and I think the Counter-Strike I saw at Cologne was even better. I think when I watched them play, I think to myself, okay, it makes an awful lot of sense what you're doing. I remember a couple of ancient maps, I can't remember the opponent, where they were just destroying their opponent on the T side, like absolutely outplaying their opponents, you know, constantly having a guy in the middle of the defense, shredding them up and just making whoever they played against look silly. I can't remember the team name right now. And I'm thinking to myself, you can't do that unless you are a quality team who understands Counter-Strike at a high level. And I feel like the fact that we've seen them done it before during the PGL major, and now we get it into this time around, and they're doing it again at Cologne, but to a higher extent and even better, it tells to me that, you know, that we've seen the potential, and now the potential has even risen, you know, within those 6, 7, 8 months since it happened in Sweden. So for me, they're here to stay. It's not going to be a top 5 team. They're not going to win any tournaments, I believe, you know, any of the big tournaments, but they're going to be one of those teams that are super annoying to play, you know, sort of like Astralis were back in the days with proper Counter-Strike, proper protocols, but maybe a bit of lack of talent. And who knows? I don't, but what if there's a Spanish guy out there with an awful lot of talent they could bring into the mix at some point and add even more firepower? Then maybe Movistar Riders is a team we have to address, you know, on a serious manner as well in the future.
Yeah, I think the Sampai's conversation is a big one, right? Because he was constantly like at the forefront of their matches, just going huge. I think that then it's Mopoz, was the more X factor, taking these risks, making these massive plays. And then after that, the thing is, in the early days when I saw Davi G and Deaths, I was like, well, they're not going to be good with these two, right? Like they can keep one of the two, maybe, right? But then probably not going to be good with both. And then you see like Davi G like have a big map, and then Deaths has a big map, and you're like, okay, right? If they can do that interchangeably once every 3 or so maps, maybe where, you know, it can work, right? You can spread the load. It doesn't have to be consistent in the black and white way that we paint it to win the games. And I think one of the key bits of credit here is another Blade, right? I think that the coach there, I think he's doing an awful lot. That when I spoke to the Movi guys, they seem to speak of him quite highly. He takes care of like all the game plan stuff, and then he just tells them what they need to do, right? Like I did a bit of a chat with Moses and Mopos, and he was going after he finished having this chat with me and Moses to go do prep with the coach, right? He was like, we don't know what I said, what, let's do the video with me, right? This podcast won't be out before you play the game. And he was like, yeah, okay. So we did the video. He's like, it could be like that, but I don't know. We haven't spoken to the coach yet. I was like, okay. So like I got from like anecdote, well, I guess it's from the horse's mouth that it seems like Blade, the coach, is doing an awful lot. In a lot of their games, it felt like they had really good game plans. I don't know. Do you make much of that, Striker?
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with Sampaio specifically just because he is a very modern opera. If you look at the way that he plays, he is kind of like the more classic, like a passive opera that kind of takes his time taking duels and stuff like that. But he also knows when he needs to step up and just go aggressive and go for a peak. Like he has a really good sense for that, and like we saw that in the Liquid game, like on Ancient, for example, like where he was just like going around just picking everything because he was insanely fucking confident about every peak that he was going to take. But that was kind of an outlier in terms of his playstyle. More often he is more of a like a calculated opera than that. But I just love that he has these two sides of him, and that like he just has that killer instinct, you know, when he needs to. So that was the most impressive thing about Movistar. I mean, in general, they just they were obviously they're not such a young team. I think they're something like 25 well, on average, but experience wise on a top level, they're very inexperienced outside of, you know, the pro league run that they had in the group stage. That's basically it that we've seen from them on tier 1 events. So for that, they are actually quite surprisingly composed in terms of, you know, late round situations and stuff like that. They just go for like last 20-second retakes that actually work out and stuff like that, and they make sense. Like they have them very well set up. So I really like the way they play.
Prof,
I feel like, I feel like what Striker just mentioned, like their late round really improved a lot at like this event and maybe over Valencia compared to earlier like Katowice and maybe like Stockholm and stuff like that. That's one aspect where I saw them just be like more chill, mature, like the experience kind of coming in that they had playing some of these events. And then the other thing is Sampaios, like individually, like the way they play was kind of boring, and like the Pimp's description of like old school Astralis, I feel like it kind of fits. But then you have Mopos, who's kind of like a wild card, who can be
that guy's mental.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. He's kind of that kind of player, like art style player, right? But then if you have Sampaios actually being this good, like or even close to this level, then they become very dangerous. Because if you can get a player to get you some openings and play like those passive angles and just like close out rounds, then they have the fundamentals to do it and to be a good team. I do feel long term, I feel like between Deaths and Davig, it was like an overperformance
between the two of them.
Like the two of them combined were too good at this event.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there was that Vertigo from Deaths that I think was a massive outlier. Like I don't think we're going to see that. Was it against Liquid? Might have been against Liquid. I think
so. So I feel like that is where they will still have some issues. So, but I think they have potential to be like a top 10ish teams, like somewhere like a MOUZ, that kind of an area, right? I don't think they're going to be challenging for titles for a top 5 or anything like that. But around top 10, I feel like they could be there.
But this is the thing, right? And this goes for every team we're spoken about, even Liquid we're going to talk about next, is these teams made it to the playoffs, whereas a bunch of teams who we would consider better or should be better didn't, right? And this maybe the field needs some like real evaluation right now, where we look at it and we go, okay, yeah, actually, like Cloud9 number 3 in the world. Do we think Cloud9 are the 3rd best team in the world? Like, maybe.
Well, not after Cologne.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I'm like, maybe they are. But like, what if Vitality gets this player? Oh, but shit, what does that mean to Ents? And then what happens if, you know? So where's the field at right now? Because this is, and we get in this conversation a bit later. So I'm kind of just planting that seed for now because we don't want to, actually, let's get through all this because we get bogged down in this. I don't want to get bogged down in this. Let's jump forward. Let's go to Liquid. Okay, so a couple of issues here. If you're Liquid and you really want YEKINDAR, you're helping VP drive up the price, which is great because I think you should get him. But fucking hell, he's going to cost an arm and a leg, right? Like, if Liquid don't get YEKINDAR, there's the end of Liquid. It's over. It's all over. Let's pack it up. Let's forget about it. Let's start a whole new team. This is it. I feel like this is how much has been put on this. Like, it feels like if they don't get YEKINDAR, who are they getting? Who's as personable? Who's going to bring the authority to the team, the accountability? Who's going to be playing that role? You know, they were smiling. What happened to Liquid? Who took over Liquid? You know, like they need YEKINDAR. They need him. I don't know how Steve, the manager, is going to make it happen, but they need him. This has to happen.
It's crazy that statistically he wasn't even good. Like his stats are not really good for this event, but everyone has been praising him so much, and obviously he brought a lot to the team in terms of what you're saying. Just understand. It's kind of funny actually to read these interviews and people be like, "Yeah, YEKINDAR taught us this about this and this about this and this about." It's like, it almost seems like these guys knew nothing about CS until YEKINDAR came into the team. It's like, how is this possible? He's not even. He's 22. He played on the top level for 2 years. Like, how is he now the fucking Bible of CS suddenly? But you understand, coming from mostly European CS and James CS, which has been notoriously geeky and nerdy as fuck, calculated, right? That there is a lot that like an NA team can learn from him.
But am I overselling this?
Yeah,
am I overselling it?
Yeah, no. Maybe. I think the problem is YEKINDAR doesn't need Liquid. Liquid needs YEKINDAR, right? So what is his motivation to go to Liquid? Go to I wouldn't even call it the North American circuit of Counter-Strike, because they're just traveling back and forth all the time. And I guess he does get to spend a lot of time in Europe, for the vast majority of the time. But he's got to get burned out, I feel, pretty quickly coming into Team Liquid, especially with the fact that, it was the first time we saw Liquid look lively. It was the first time we saw Liquid smile, as you said. But there's also going to be a day after tomorrow, in a sense that once you're 2 months into that project and once you're getting into the everyday life, everyday grind, and you get to know the personalities within Liquid, then will YEKINDAR be happy to be in Liquid if he could choose another European team that could pay him almost the same, if not more money, which I guess would be realistic in a way. I don't know. I feel
what team would that be?
There's no way somebody will pay him more money than Liquid. I'm just going to go out and say that.
Yeah, most likely not. Well, but thing is, like, YEKINDAR is such a hot prospect for everyone. I think if you're G2 as well, you must look into YEKINDAR, and I would argue that G2 can pay the same amount of money as a Liquid in that
no,
sense,
they
right?
won't. No, they won't. I think, man, I think people have just such a wrong idea about G2 in general and how much they're willing to spend on people. They really are not. They really only spend when they absolutely have to, and they don't overbid on people like a Liquid would, because I don't know if you know this, but like when Liquid were looking out for kind of like changes for between seasons, 6 months ago or so, they wanted Rops, and he probably would have been the highest paid player of the entire scene if that had happened, if he said yes. So like Liquid are really willing to spend big bucks on big people, on big players, and YEKINDAR is definitely one of those.
That's a desperate, right? But wouldn't you be desperate if you're G2 as well right now? Like,
I don't think they get YEKINDAR. Like, I think the thing is, like, and I don't know if YEKINDAR would join G2, because what he said in that interview, like, he wants to be the head honcho, right? And you're not going to be the head honcho at G2. Like,
maybe not head, but like have some influence on the team, right?
You can never get past it. You can't get past the two of them. You can't get past Cousins. What are you going to do? How are you going to get past that? Like, there's no way. You don't have any.
No,
you have
also
zero chance.
I also have to say, just looking at like what the tracker is alluding to, people are now going to say, "Oh my God, $600,000 for Monacy, whatever." Okay, that was a big spending, but overall, how G2 operate, salary wise, like sticker money, shares, investment into the team, support psychologists that Nexa talked about that they don't have, despite being one of the chokiest team of all time, like kind of an obvious upgrade that you want for a team. Just how they work, Liquid is definitely an organization that supports the players more, significantly more than G2.
The whole facility they have and stuff, I know that YEKINDAR was very impressed by that.
I was actually there after the major. I was stopped by on a trip, and it's fucking insane. They have a chef on call, not on call, literally there every day.
Yeah.
Cooking 2 meals. He's an ex-Michelin star chef.
Jesus.
Like, that's a level that they have there.
That's pretty nice.
At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, I feel like it comes down to the fact that Liquid is still based in NA, right? And the
that
team
is a problem.
It's still based in NA, and as much as we want to talk about their nice European facilities, and some of the players, as far as I'm aware, right, are not willing to move to Europe.
It has to be the Nitro Elige camp, I reckon, that's on that side, because NAF has a girl that's European, right? So you have NAF, and
he said it like NAF.
YEKINDAR on the European side. I don't know OC. I think OC just wants to shoot people. He don't really give a fuck.
Sure.
But yeah, there's definitely two distinct camps. So you do have a problem there, Jacob. You are correct.
I think I do still think that people underestimate how much firepower Liquid has and how much they underperformed these last 6 months. Like, if you go back, let's say 6 months when we first knew this roster was going to come, like, that trio was fucking sick. Like, if you think about NAF, Elige, and OC, like, if OC starts delivering, like, that is a really fucking strong trio. And add YEKINDAR to that. Like, is that not potentially like one of the strongest 4-man cores a team like of any team in the entire scene? Like that is a team that I expect to be top 5 consistently.
It's a big conversation point. I think that they can be like, I think the thing is, this is the way I'm looking at it. Imagine like the game philosophy of Counter-Strike and work ethic with Liquid's resources, right? Like because just the fact of hearing conversation that like Liquid were playing this many scrims before, but VP were playing this many scrims before, just like things about the accountable way that they approach practice, right? And the stark contrast between the two. Like, I think the thing is, you don't realize how good you have it until somebody comes in and like is his jaw dropped to the floor. And I think that's probably how YEKINDAR was when he got to see everything. Think about VP as an org. Like, VP are not a likable org at all, right? They weren't even a likable org before. Like before the whole fucking war stuff, there was still controversy around VP as an org. They weren't necessarily the most loved. They were the most loved because of the team that they had, and everybody loved the Polish guys, right?
And then the Mercedes happened.
Yeah, and then they weren't loved so much. But this is the thing. I don't know. I think if this doesn't happen, they've invested so much emotion into this happening and being the catalyst for the revival of Liquid and probably thus North American Counter-Strike, that I think if this doesn't happen, it'll break the back of the current team.
I have no doubt. Sorry, Chad, to cut you off, right? I have no doubt that Liquid will invest in and they'll continue to be supportive towards Counter-Strike. And basically, as you said, Liquid could potentially die as we know them if they don't figure it out or get a player in with the capabilities. I just want to give the historical context for it as well. And I'm sorry, Prof, you're going to hate me more than you already do now. But once I joined Liquid back in 2015, right? Coming from Europe, I remember Liquid. They played the final of Cologne, I think with Simple, right? And I was so excited to get over there. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm getting to join a team who just placed second at Cologne at a major, right? They were doing so well. And after 5 practices, after 5 scrims, I was thinking to myself that the team I came from back in the day, I think that was SK Gaming, were like a top 15, top 20 team. We were awful as a team, right? But we had 10 times the communication they had. The second best team in the world, or a team that were able to be the second best team in the world. There were so many groundbreaking, mistakes being made in Liquid when I came in the first time around, and now I'm seeing the same thing happen all over again, right? I hear YEKINDAR come in, I hear YEKINDAR's teaching them all these things, and I'm thinking to myself, you didn't learn the first time around, you didn't learn the third time on Simple Key. Well, when are you ever going to learn, right? It's just the NA approach. It's the NA. They're just so reluctant to actually adopt and learn what I consider to be proper Counter-Strike, or at least Counter-Strike where you can be consistent in a way that allows you to use all the firepower, use all the talent, use all the resources that Liquid is giving you. I'm kind of getting a little bit sick and tired of talking about it because I see it happening over and over again. And, I would love to see Liquid play well, and I would love to see YEKINDAR play Liquid, but I must admit, and I must say that if YEKINDAR does make that move, that is a massive, massive gamble on his behalf. He could end up hating his life. He could end up, hurting his career for quite some time and maybe never recover, as we've seen other players do from an NA stand. So be a little bit careful with that. And then, as said, we can talk a lot about the resources Liquid are putting in, but if the players on the server are not willing to learn, willing to adopt, and willing to do the necessary steps in order to be the best in the world, then what is the point in bringing in talent, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, it's the conversation.
Talking about hating your life, I mean, if he joins G2, he can be in contract jail for like 4 years, like Kenny S is right now. So,
you mean making good money streaming? I think that's pretty
got
good.
Released, man. Got released from the, he's out now. He's free.
But wasn't he on the bench for like a year now?
Yeah, but he's free now. We got to celebrate when they're free. We got to look at the little things here. Just on this Liquid situation, it's the promises that they make to each other, right, as teammates, that will dictate this. Because in the early stages, people are talking about getting married and having a couple kids and the house that they want to have and the white picket fence. And then, after a little while, you're just going to be, having to wake up next to them in the morning and go, fuck this person, Jesus fucking Christ, right? But it's the promises they make to each other, and hopefully they can stick to them, because I think I'm with Striker here. It could be a really good team, but they need to get this fucking clause out of the Louvre agreement for the North American teams to have to go back and play in North America. It's so stupid. Yeah. Right? People can make the argument for, but how are the other teams aren't going to get better? Can we not do that? The other teams aren't going to get better. It's just not going to happen. And if they do, they're going to do it on their own, like what used to happen back in the day when a team from Kaboom came from Brazil or a team from Fox Eminor came from Australia, and they fucking worked it out.
The way it could
pull yourself up by your bootstraps, Prof.
The way it could or should maybe work was and I feel like that was talked about and maybe discussed and maybe almost supposed to happen, was when IEM Dallas was happening, and then the next event was supposed to be like a blast event. Maybe that blast event was also supposed to be an NA, and like there's supposed to be an NA showdown, also an NA, and then during that like month and a half, you'd have enough time for a lot of European teams being there, that, you know, there is a development of the team, of the circuit in NA, and not just like, okay, Liquid is here for 1 week and now everything's going to change. I don't think that's going to be enough. Also, Liquid doesn't want to practice with you because you're shit. You're just wasting your time. So, you know, we can be in NA, but we don't have to actually play anything.
They even had those issues with Prof, like the teams in this playoff bracket.
Yeah,
because everyone else was already on holidays. That's not even just a North American issue. That's like a teams going on holidays issue. I was talking to teams at the event, like the teams who are in the top 6. Like, who are you guys practicing? It's like just like tier 3 teams because nobody else is playing right now.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of issues all over the shop, but whatever. We're good with Liquid.
Yep.
All right. Good. We're going to talk about the best of 5 grand final. It was a good one. FaZe versus NAVI, the final we wanted. We know all the storylines. We spoke about them 1,051 different times. In case you missed it, it was the 2 best teams in the world, locking horns, going into the final event of the year to determine who's going to be the best, and FaZe come out on top, and we had the 5-map banger. I want to hand this one over to the best of 5 hater, Prof, first for his comments.
It was a good best of 5 final, especially the last 3 maps that I actually felt invested in to watch.
You had plenty of time to tune in, mate. You had plenty of time. We gave you heaps of time.
You get a slow warm up the first map. You see like highlight here, highlight there. Okay, now it's 1-1. It's like, oh, now it's beginning. Now I can invest myself in.
Kind of how it felt though, isn't it?
It was a really like it's really good, but it's still really long. Really long. it's a lot of time.
Yeah, but like a tennis Grand Slam final can go for 5 hours.
7 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if it goes all the sets,
you know, the exception doesn't make the rule, as they
That's
say.
true. And we were reflecting when we were doing the live one about the good best of 5 finals, and they're not as good when you go back and you look at the long list of the Astralis like 3-0 dump strings or the NAVI 3-0 dump strings that we had recently, right? That's what.
Yeah, but then that's quick, you know, so that just defeats the argument entirely. Like, obviously, if a best of 5 is long, it usually means it's pretty good. Obviously, you can have like fucking one-sided maps, and five of them we've actually had some of those finals.
Yeah,
but like in general, if a best of 5 is too long, it usually means it was good.
True. That's a good point. Yeah,
I'd also just more. I'm not gonna. It's the same discussion every time, but I still enjoy like a best of 3 that's good than a best of 5 that's good. Like I enjoy it. Just more enjoyable to have less content. You know,
it's going to be like well, it's going to be nothing like what came first, the chicken or the egg, but it's going to be a conversation where I think we're going to have a hard time settling. You know,
everyone has their own. Everyone has their own priorities.
I'm with you, Prof. I'm very much with you. I think best of 5s are not good. You know, just imagine if Ancient would have been the 3rd deciding map, and FaZe would have come back with that comeback going into overtime on the 3rd deciding map. I know that it turned out to be a banger series, and map 4 and map 5 in particular, Nuke was insane, right? But map 4 was not that great. Mirage wasn't really that interesting, right? And map 5 turned out to be super, super cool. But imagine if this story would have been a best of 3 where it was 16-12, 16-13, then FaZe pulling off one of the biggest comebacks ever to go into overtime and then still lose. You know, the best of 3 potential for that game would have been insane as well. And I personally, I agree. You know, games are way too long already, and just adding a best of 5 in just because you can is just not helping us in any. MXO
Dave in chat, he's a man after my own heart, because I like the angle of it, that it's like testing when it works out like this and it's the 2 best teams. And like, I don't know how you guys felt, but I didn't know who was going to win this one. Testing like the depth of these teams' map pool and all that. Like, I really enjoyed that side of things. And I think, you know, I don't think it should be every event. For example, I don't think IEM Dallas should be a best of 5 final.
Yeah,
I don't think that should be a best of 5 at all. I think like, I think, right, that the majors should be a best of 5 final, and the really big S tier events like a Katowice and a Cologne, and like if say like Copenhagen, the blast one, you know, you could probably get away. It depends on their format, right? But I'm just saying, like, those caliber of events, I think should be a best of 5, right? As long as we know we're going to get the 2 best teams, or maybe 2 teams from the top 4 at least going. We don't have any of these like crazy results. But when we do have a team who's just going to get blown out, yeah, you're right. We could have just finished that in 2. We could have just been done with that. We don't need to see a 3-map drubbing. We could have just had a 2-map drubbing. But this one here obviously was a good one, right? We've highlighted that. We all enjoyed that. But in terms of the Counter-Strike, I was impressed with how high level it stayed until the very end.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to become a scrim fest.
Man. Mantuu was such fucking chaos all of a sudden. Like, it was 4 really solid fucking high-level maps, and you're like, this would never happen on like a top 10, between top 10 teams. You see the series, you would never see any of this shit that's happening. Like, this is really like the meta between FaZe and NAVI, and then you get into Nuke and it's fucking full chaos. Like, you don't know what's happening.
Maybe because it was too long of a game.
I still think it was pretty high level. Like, I know that the electronic moment when he didn't hear him falling, right? The crowd was fucking at a fever pitch at that point. It was getting crazy. Yeah. Like, we were hitting, it was insane. Everyone just wanted fucking blood. But like that there, for example, yeah, sure, not hearing that, and Twistzz just getting those entry frags into A. But I still think like there were certain rounds, they were like top pops, and it was like trade, double kill, round done. It was like, holy shit, like that's proper Counter-Strike. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see the execute. I don't want to see the execute happen, and because one guy fucked up his flash or misplaced a molly, the guy holding gets a 3-man spray down. I want to see the high level, like the comms, the rotations, the fucking like, and it's so it's like everybody just landing. You know, like Dragon Ball Z. Surely all of us watch Dragon Ball Z. Remember, like when he's fighting fucking Freezer and he's Super Saiyan Jin, whatever, and there's the hits are so fast you can't even see it. That's what the trades are like. Rushes the observer, he can't keep up. It's like bang, 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 bang. And I'm just looking at the kill. It's all that's sick to me, man. Like, that gets me I fucking love it. It worked. The comms are there. The flight paths, everything's there. Like, that shit really gets me going. I fucking love it. I'm getting excited again.
I agree.
It's fucking sick.
Happy chat.
We were spoiled with that game, right? And it makes me think, and sorry for going a bit off topic, right? But don't you think, like in modern days Counter-Strike, the reason why we're so excited about it as well is that we see a lot of saving. We see a lot of teams, playing super calculated, smart Counter-Strike. Whenever there's a reason to save in a 3v2, they will most definitely save. And I don't know, I just can't help to think that one of the things that would do well for our game and make the games feel a little less long, and perhaps even shorten down the games, because there's no much, there's not going to be 30 or 45 seconds of saving every other round in Counter-Strike. The bomb radius thing we're exploring now with Inferno, I hope that's a move in the right direction for CSGO, who's willing to like address that problem and avoid people saving 24/7, because it's so boring to watch. There's so much death time in a game of Counter-Strike that is already lasting for 5, 6, 7 hours in a best of 5. So maybe that's a middle ground where we can fix and adjust a bit.
Yeah, that's going to be a curious one to keep tabs on. It's still hard to tell with this like Inferno change. We haven't like, it's definitely encouraging a little bit more. Like, you can see it in the positioning, more people dying to the bomb as well, getting caught out by that still. The M4A4, I thought I'd see more of it. Still didn't see a lot of it. That's another one that I think the jury's probably still going to have to be out on for a little while. But if it doesn't start trending upwards soon, I don't know. I thought we would have had a bit more use of that going into that final. I don't know where to take this conversation. Like, I just know that I really enjoyed it. That was probably the most fun I've had at anything Counter-Strike related maybe ever. Like, that tops like all of them. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think if anything, like, people are like, obviously, we had that whole discussion that this is going to decide number one, but we didn't really decide it. It's like with 2 rounds, generally NAVI probably should have won if you think about it, because of the way that it turned out, at like 14-14. That round basically decided it all, and then probably maybe shouldn't have gone FaZe's way. And so, like, we didn't really get an actual answer just because of how close and how good the final was. But we do have the actual, because they have the belt, right? Like, we can they have the belt. Whoever has the belt is the best. Of course, winning is what matters in the end. But
we want to see it again, though, right?
Yeah, if you think about going forward, that means like we've just set up for an amazing second part of the season for sure. Just because obviously we knew these teams were the 2 best teams going into the playoffs in Cologne and in general into Cologne, and that's going to keep going on, especially with a lot of these other teams changing. I know we'll get into that conversation a little bit later, but like, this pilot just sets up such an amazing, like, the next few events.
Oh yeah, because normally it is one team and everyone's like, who can beat them? Now it's 2 teams, and I want to see them again. I want to see it happen again. I want to see him run the gauntlet. I want to see him in the final. I want to see him play again. Let's run it back.
Yeah,
that was sick.
We had like 7 months ago, we had the conversation of who's going to challenge NAVI. Now who's going to challenge NAVI and FaZe. So basically, like, we got another top team into the mix. So that's really fun.
Yeah, I think that this is the exciting part of this whole conversation, right? Is because even though like we now know who comes out on top, right? It's FaZe. That's not the conversation. But we're also excited to see how NAVI come out. Like, okay, well, this is good. Didn't Simple make a tweet saying that it was the hardest final he'd ever played? Something along those lines.
He said it in our interview.
It's an interview, yeah.
It's not a tweet.
Classic.
I swear there was a tweet.
Classic.
No, he said that in our. Maybe he said it in a tweet as well.
I'm almost positive there was a tweet. People in chat will know if there's a tweet. I'm swearing there was a tweet.
I'll check. There might be a similar tweet. I feel like there was.
Look, it was an actual headline of an interview, so
He says just great final. He didn't say. Yeah, it was our interview.
Fuck, I swear it was a tweet. But anyway, we'll trust the journalist here. We won't trust. I mean,
there's
a
tweet from HLTV that said the same thing. That was because it was a title. So
someone said it was HLTV's Twitter, so that would have been, probably where I saw the headline. What do we have any other takeaways with the final that we want to delve into? Oh, I guess the SDY conversation, Jacob. Do you think that he's done enough to stay in probably one of the deepest and richest talent pools that we have in Counter-Strike at the moment?
I think it's done okay, but I think there's a question mark surrounded that because he hasn't done that well, but it's also incredible tough work conditions to go into, right? A team that is right now spread across Europe, I guess, can't really figure out where the players are living, can't really figure out what the future looks like for various reasons. So I can really understand that his work conditions haven't been the best. I think he's a great player. I really liked the pickup when I saw it because I remember watching him play and think he's better than the teams he's playing for. But I think he's done well. He's done all right, but he's done just good enough to be a question mark for me.
Okay. Does anybody else feel strongly about SDY here? Because he had moments, right? But I think immediately after the game, he was very self-critical. I don't know how everybody... I just think, yeah, hit it, Prof. What do you got?
I think he fits in, and I also think Blade is fucking genius. It just turns out like everything that this guy does just works out. On paper, it didn't seem like a super exciting move. And also Electronic as an IGL was, how's that going to work out? But it seems like if Blade is there to like guide these people, it's going to be okay enough. Could there be a better player out there? Potentially. Definitely there are more exciting players to add to Navi, but the question is if they even need that. Like if despite all of the issues that they're going through, new IGL, playing against the best team in the world, they go 5 maps and like barely lose, right? I don't think that's I don't see how you can justify making a change. Like why would you change?
Yeah.
Like why roll the dice again and potentially find a player that chemistry wise doesn't fit, or or need the roles aren't gonna fit after some times and stuff like that. So I feel like it's good. Like I wouldn't change it. I think I'd go forward with this lineup.
Yeah, I think that he looked good for the team, for the part. He just like, I think they speak about it a lot in that team about mistakes, right? If they can get him to a point where they're happy with what he's contributing, then yeah, I think I thought he had some really big moments on pistol rounds. He was fucking nuts. He had his moments. He just, didn't have all the moments. Striker, I want to throw this one to you because I like putting you in the crosshairs of this. Why didn't Twistzz win the MVP?
I was just going to ask if that's something that we wanted to get into.
We also have a graphic. We have a graphic.
We do?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. I don't know about that.
So, no, it's just this graphic, Lucas, you can bring it up. This is of Simple, I believe, right, Prof, who did win the MVP of the event.
Yes.
I mean,
who's our player highlight by Bitskins.
There you go. See, that's some sponsor work right there. But Simple had a great tournament, so you can use this, Striker, while you talk about why Twistzz didn't win.
I mean, that's basically the answer, right? Simple was just too good. Like if you looked at the status of things just before the final happened, like FaZe just had such a fucking deep split between who carried what game and stuff like that. Even Kerrigan had like a couple of player of the match awards, which is something that Peter just decides for every single map. And so like the split in FaZe was just much wider, and you basically had 4 or 5 people stepping up at different times. And so like already heading into the final, like it was basically impossible for Simple to lose it. And obviously, Simple still played really well in that final, at least for the most part. So that at that point is just decided already, So basically, Simple's just too good. That's the answer.
Okay. Well, look, I thought that was going to be your answer, so I'm going to have a second follow-up question for you.
Go.
Would you ever live in a world, especially with best of 5 grand finals, where you think that a final MVP would be a consideration? Because Twistzz, in my opinion, would have been the grand finals MVP, and not just because of the plays on Nuke. Like I think he had a fucking banging impact.
I mean, we don't necessarily do MVP would probably just be across the whole tournament, but we still do, not necessarily officially, but as I said, the player of the match awards are still
I'm not asking
there
on an
and stuff
official
like
basis,
that. So
right? Let's say because ESL did their DHL thing, right? And Simple won it there. Like I feel
we were having this conversation. Like I think Twistzz was the player of the match or the grand final, right? So like that's, I mean, we are already talking about that. Do we have to have an official thing about it?
So it's just the final, I think.
And that would
you guys
much
do the
better.
tournament, right? They do the tournament one. You guys, they should do the grand final. They should go, okay, well, like, and that's fine. That's to win the grand final. That's the tournament. That's the game you need to win the trophy. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You can have a great tournament, but ESL should really pivot that DHL MVP sponsorship into like grand final MVP.
And it would also be, but I guess it's harder to build up the narrative, right? Because the DHL MVP for the tournament, they can use all through the tournament, right? They can like check in and do all of these things. So I agree from like a partnership standpoint. I see why it's like that. But if we're talking about like objectively finding MVP from the whole they would have a unique thing, but also it's hard to actually pick the right MVP sometimes, and the way they do it, it's not really, I don't know, I don't think it's super crazy.
The way they do it's not great.
I mean, it's like a combination of like talent, like stats, talent, and fans or something like that, right?
Yeah,
or
like a couple of other things though as well that like make it leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth. The way that we I don't like, the thing is, I don't want to talk too much about this. I don't know what I should be allowed to say and not be allowed to say. All I know is that the talent put their votes in a spreadsheet, right, to help determine it. Right. There's a couple of other factors here. Fuck it, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna say other stuff before we move on from this. So I'll do the bad stuff, not regarding the DHL MVP thing, which was what
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Do we have anything else on this final MVP conversation before we...
Let's go full screen on chat. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear the rant.
No, it's not a rant. It's not a rant. It's just there's not. I'm not starting a fire.
I came for the rant.
It was a really good event. I really enjoyed myself. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was great being in Cologne. But like I want ESL to put on better events. And I think that ESL right now, if I compare all the different events that I go to, they have the best fan experience for people who are there in the arena. And I don't mean watching. I think Blast do a good job of that as well. I mean around it in the concourse, the things you can buy, the little sideshow, that they have so much more than everybody else. That's not even a conversation, right? That isn't a conversation. The content that ESL do is also the best. That in itself is just a fact now. The hype stuff they do, the fun stuff they do, theirs is the best. That is also not a conversation.
They or we?
Well, I contribute a lot, right? I obviously don't do the video editing and shit. I help with like the storylines and I help with the VO and all that kind of stuff. And I contribute in those ways, but the production is where it's like lacking, right? And people like don't understand what we mean when we mean production. A lot of people are thinking about the wrong stuff. But Blast have the best production. That's not a conversation. These are just hard facts for people actually. Blast have the best production. That's where ESL dropped the ball, and that's where they still continue to drop the ball. Like for the B stream can't be like offsite, and it can't be some like afterthought, and it can't be run by some third party. It's 50% of the broadcast for the first week.
Yeah, and the sound, the sound is just poor. Like I was just watching like our simple MVP video, and like the casting from like Dinko, it just sounds bad. It just sounds bad. The audio is bad.
Yeah, but that there from ESL is inexcusable in my mind. That 50% of the event for the first week is produced from somewhere without any quality assurance. And like, if you're going to outsource things like that and it's going to turn out shit, well, that is on you. Like 100% ESL's fault. And that one right there is probably the biggest mark from that event that I have. And I don't call like other events out on the shit that they do badly because I don't have the same relationship. Whereas if I like
you don't see into the background as much.
Yeah. So I'm not going to, there's definitely other bad stuff that I'm sure Jacob and I have seen at other events that we, would talk about. But what's the point? It's not gonna do anything, right? But with the ESL one, hopefully, maybe this, like they can look into that. That's the only real thing that really upsets me about it, right? Is that they did like, there was one bad thing with the audio on a piece of content we did, which was like a 6-way chat. It was like 2 players from either team, and then like 2, like me and Maniac did one. I think Yanko and Moses did one. I think Machine and Maui did one. And those chats were really good, but the audio was kind of scuffed, which is a shame because the video still has a shitload of views, but the audio was just really bad. But other than that, I don't know. I think we're gonna get some people asking about Blast Major stuff. It's all right. We're gonna talk about that soon. Don't worry. All right. Does anyone else have anything? I got what I wanted to say out. Wasn't that bad, right? It's pretty nice.
I think it's all right, and it's also like compared to like 3 years ago, I feel like we've come a long way, and I know that's always an easy way out, for tournament organizers, right? But we really have come a long way. I feel like when I get to work with Danish television, for an example, right, and I don't want to talk bad about them whatsoever, but there's a lot they can learn from what we do. There's a lot they can learn from the Blast production, and I even say the ESL production. I haven't done have done an ESL event in quite some time because I usually work for Danish TV throughout that, but I'd assume it'll be the same, right? There's a lot of learning going from both sides now, whereas 5 years ago, the television companies were looking at us and thinking we're a bunch of amateurs, right? So I feel like we're getting to a point where, at least from my experience dealing with pretty much every TO out there and now also Danish TV, that they respect us and they steal stuff from us, and they're kind of like trying to pick our brain, how we're doing this and how we're producing this and what our thoughts are behind the way we do it. And I think that's a compliment worth taking as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I did notice throughout the broadcast, especially during kind of like the first week, not necessarily the playoffs, because that was kind of like a classic ESL product, I think. But during the group stage and playing, I saw that there was a lot of attempts to kind of like create things a little bit more dynamic, you know, different angles for kind of like the post-match talk with a player and stuff like that. Some of those interviews were pretty nice, I have to say, because they had the players for like fucking ever sometimes. They had like 15-minute talks, you know, right after a match. And so that was nice. It was a little bit, you could tell that it's new to them though, because like the transitions just weren't really polished. You know, it's what we're talking about when we're talking about Blast, right? Like that the entire fucking product is just well thought through. Like you can tell that they are just prepared for everything happening one after another. You know, I don't know if they do like fucking rigorous talks beforehand and just like prep and stuff like that. I imagine they do because that's just how it looks. But like they just have it well thought through. And then with ESL, it was kind of like, let's try this, let's try that, and just like a lot of new stuff that was coming in at the same time. And I mean, I'd still props to them for trying to put on new angles, to try new stuff and stuff like that. Some of the content you were talking about was really good, like the two players from each team and you guys in the middle. Like that was a really cool concept to me. So I mean, there was still like a lot of positives for me to take away from the event, even if some of the broadcast elements were lacking.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like the finals was pretty good. Like all the days was pretty good. The crowd was there. You know, the games were on. That's the main thing. The thing is, like, I'm obviously the type of guy, if I'm involved with this company as much as I am, like, I want the best for Counter-Strike, right? I want people who are watching it to be able to enjoy it. I think the thing is, this is like the way I look at it. If you're not going to put any effort into the B or the C streams, and then you're going to have audio issues or desync, you're not going to offer up camera shots, just put the GoTV IPs publicly available and allow people to stream it however they want and do something for the community, right? Give them an opportunity to stream their own thing. Because if you're not going to put in the effort and you're going to offer something up that, like, if it's not watchable, right? Like if you can't listen to the audio because every player's out of sync or you're not getting any highlights or whatever, okay, right? Yeah, fair enough. But I don't know. I just think that there's things there that they could definitely do better in the future. I know that they probably feel that way, but this is the thing. It's just that's one of the little bits that irked me.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to take it from a broadcast taker's perspective as well. Now working with Danish TV, right? When we have the B feed, and there's quite a, how to say, like quite a drastic change in the quality that we get to showcase in Danish TV, right? And I'm pretty sure, without knowing my bosses in Danish TV, right, I'm pretty sure they're not too happy about that, right? When you pay for a product, you expect you get the same quality, whether or not you're streaming an A game or B game. And in reality, a lot of the Astralis games, hero games, you know, throughout a tournament will be on the B stream, and that's what they showcase. That's what they pay for. So while I do like it from a community perspective, you know, to put out the GoTV IP, that is also going to hurt ESL a lot in terms of revenue they can create from broadcast takers, which is a thing that we don't really talk about, right? Is there more than like 50, 60, 70 different paying broadcast takers, right? That's a big part of the business nowadays that didn't exist 5, 6, 7 years ago. So they have to cater to that, and I agree. They have to do more for the B feed, B stream, C stream, whatever.
Well, this is the thing. Like, we're getting a bit behind the curtain right now, talking a bit businessy here. But with all the content, like the ESL content that's done, hardly any of it is sponsor branded, right? Like it's all. What'd you read? What
so actually, some guy just asked. I can't read the name though. Is the station actually just called Danish TV?
if you said TV2, people wouldn't know, or TV3 or whatever. People wouldn't know what he's talking about.
It's a hilarious comment.
Unless you're Danish, right? In Australia, we have Channel 10, Channel 9, Channel 7. You know, people probably not getting those. Where was I? I forgot where it was. Oh, the content not being sponsor branded, which I know that the TV takers like because they can play it. It doesn't have sponsorship plastered all over it, which could conflict with stuff that they have, right? Anyway, should we get out of the business talk and keep the Counter-Strike going?
The recent news.
We can talk about. We do need to roll some ads. So we'll go to the recent news. We'll roll some ads. We'll be right back.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
Hello, everyone. We're back with the recent news. And as you can see, I have changed it to 2023 major rumors. We're going to do that first. I want to get that out of the way because we were just talking a bit of business. So we're at events and there's a lot of people around. That means a lot of people are talking. And I heard some things. So anyone want to come clean first? Any of you want to, you going to let me do it? And we're going to open their mouths about the rumors they've been hearing about 2023 majors?
Yeah, Gaming Paradise to host the first one. Back in Slovenia and Porto Roche. And after that, the second one, India. And what's the gaming? What's the name of the CS 1.6 event? That was like a complete disaster. I can't remember.
There was a bunch of them.
There was one like Carnival, Gaming Carnival. Was something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
So we got to get out ahead of this, boys. We got to get out ahead of this. I'm hearing things, and I want to make sure, because I'm already seeing the threads. I'm seeing the PR getting done by Blast. I want to make sure that like I'm not getting maneuvered here in the PR world. So I was the gentleman who came out and said, Blast haven't been pitching for majors, right? Remember that? You all remember that? Because everyone's like, give Blast a major. This shit's fucking awesome.
You said that.
I did say that. And their shit is fucking awesome. That's bang on. There's no doubt about it. But Blast have their circuit that they run, right? And you should all know how the circuit works. Groups into the longest qualification process time of all time, into the showdown, into then their finals, right? And they do that twice. And then they have a world finals at the end of the year. And you can qualify for the world finals in a plethora of different ways. You can win some majors, you can win some ESL events, you can win this, you can win that, and you can qualify for the world finals for Blast. Okay, so they weren't pitching for majors, but the rumors, guys, rumors are starting to change. It's starting to change. It's in the water right now that maybe Blast want to take on a big undertaking next year in 2023. And I also heard that the other major could be going to Perfect World. Those are the rumors. I've been keeping my ear down right now, just listening, seeing what I can imagine. Now, I know that there's a couple of you here, and you definitely hear a couple things as well. Now, is anyone going to say that they heard anything, or is it just me? Am I just perpetuating? Am I just making shit up?
I mean, you did say that Blast didn't pitch in for majors, so how come that changed, Chad?
Well, I think maybe they did it quite literally just to spite me. That's what somebody on their birthday would think. But I think as well, right, like that they weren't pitching for majors because maybe it didn't work with, I guess, the system that they had in place, or they didn't feel like they had the resources to do it yet, or they didn't feel that they were there yet, because people still need to remember Blast is a relatively new company still in this space, right? Yeah. They're one of the youngest tournament organizers we have still to this day. So the way that I understand it is maybe they've, feel they have enough resources now and enough has changed, because it's going to be a 24-team event plus RMRs.
It's going to be a big task, yeah, for sure. But has the angle changed in terms of, like, we always speak about the majors as it's everyone is losing money, right? TOs can't make money, the teams can't make money, everyone is losing money, yada yada yada, and then
they're definitely making money.
Yeah,
and players are definitely making money.
Sure.
I think that they can make money in Denmark.
Maybe, but Silvio came out from PGL and said, like, yeah, you can run a profitable major, right? Yeah. And I guess that's, has to do with where they're located and what kind of workforce they're using. But even in Denmark, it'd be hella expensive to create and host a major. And if they can make money based on that, then I don't really buy that argument anymore, And I also do think Valve, from what I know, and Chad, you probably know more than I do, right? That they're more involved in Counter-Strike now that they've been in a very long time. They're actually taking an active role in talking to people and trying to help out with certain issues. So I feel like we're moving into a point where getting the majors is something that everyone should desire. And we probably won't get back to the point where TOs can't make money off it. It shouldn't be like that, right?
I hope to see them run a home major, right? I think that's the best thing they could do, because Denmark definitely would be great to have a major. We know that the fans like to turn out. Hopefully, if Astralis and Heroic aren't too deep, that they still rock in, right? There's still going to be people coming over from Sweden. It's not hard to get to Denmark, right? But I I think that maybe for them to run a home major would be good, right? They obviously already have had support from City, right? Like Blast is synonymous with Copenhagen, right? So I don't know if there's any more relationships there. Look, I don't have any details. I just heard some rumors that at Cologne, and I was like, you know what? I just want to make sure I said this because now that I've heard that maybe Blast is getting a major in 2023, that you know, people are in every single one of those threads where the PR thing is what was the line? Anyway, there was some line in this fucking interview.
I can't even. That
people do what I do, right? They only read the headline, and there's people in the comments like, "Oh, is what SPUNJ was saying wrong?" It's like, well, at the time when I was saying it, no, it wasn't wrong, but maybe now.
Even in, like last year when we were talking about this, no.
Yeah. Even in this recent interview that just came out, they don't really confirm anything.
I mean, there's about as much as you can say.
There's a direct question like, did you bid? And they said nothing. They didn't confirm.
Well, I mean, they did say watch the space. You know, it's like I think no, that's like kind of like the no comment that says everything that you need to know. I think like that's how I took it.
I'm just saying
they kind of like.
They didn't deny anything that Chad said previously. That's all I want to.
No,
that's clear.
I mean that's fair, but they did say that they are interested in hosting one at some point. And when they got asked point blank if it was going to be they pitched for it, they said no comment, which usually means yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to bring to the table.
That doesn't mean that they got it, but they definitely. I think there's a reasonable assumption that they definitely pitched.
I just wanted to bring this to the table.
Also, just to add, because people in chat were asking about perfect world, what that means. Chad, that would kind of would presume that would be like a China major.
Yeah, you would expect so, right?
And perfect world historically worked with PGL on their stuff. So the last event that they had was the event that MOUZ Sports won, Woxic MVP, right?
Yep. CAC, right?
CAC.
That's where Blair got that cool jacket that everybody asks about.
True. So maybe if you have another major there'll be more cool jackets.
Just quickly, someone in chat said, when is the deadline? And I'm almost positive that the 2023 majors have already been decided, right? Because we're already in July. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't not on the phone with Valve finding this shit out, but that's what I understand, that the 2023 majors have been decided. And that's why I brought forward the information that I had. Okay. We done with that? Everyone happy with that?
See.
Cool. All right, let's have a quick chat here. This is going to be quite quick fire. Okay, I'm going to throw this one to you, Jacob. Now, degster, he's over there. It's official at OG. Mantu's out. We're going to split this question up. I want to give you the side of the OG perspective. What do you make of this edition? Obviously, we saw him as a stand-in, but what do you make of this edition full-time? What are you expecting from OG now?
You had an opportunity to get what I think could be a world-class player, probably on a bit cheaper than you would have been able to in 6 months if you even would be able to. I feel like it's one of those things where for OG, you have a window of opportunity and you need to hit it. You know, I don't dislike mantuu at all. I don't think mantuu is a bad player, even though he's been in a rough period. But degster is to me not a world-class player yet, but he could candidate for that. I think he's a strong AWP player. There's a severe lack of strong AWP players. There's a severe lack of players who can dictate the pace, dictate a game on the server, and degster is one of those. If you're from the OG perspective as well, you're talking about a team that let go of some of their biggest stars. Belt is now, going somewhere else most likely. Aleksib went off, and you're back to a team where they were trying to word it as we're gambling on the youth. We're trying to sign cheap players. We all remember the next interview saying something along the lines of, they were the best we could afford, whether you like that or not. But now you were able to afford degster, and for some reason degster was attracted by the fact that they wanted you, and there you go, you got a world-class AWP player potentially, and I think that's a wise move for OG, even though mantuu is a little hard done by here, but that's the game.
Yeah, I feel the identity of the team now makes like sense, because I feel like Nexa, when we got the best out of him was, and this, look, people are gonna pull out stat lines and shit, but the Nexa I liked was the one in Crazy, where the team was like really reactive and roamy and in your face, and it was just like they were looking to roam and dome with all the firepower. And I think that's the type of team you can get with this roster, like Neofrag, Fiku, like these Flames. Of course, these kids just want to aim, they just want to fight. Like, and I think that's sick. You add degster in there, who's the same kind of player, and if Nexa can in-game lead in that fast-paced fashion, I'm going to be excited to see how it happens and what happens with the team going forward. It's going to be a curious one, but I'm more excited about this OG roster than I was the very first one they put together. Like leaps and bounds more excited, just because I feel this one has potential that I can see. Whereas the one before, I think I was pretty harsh on them in the beginning. I don't think
Aleksib lineup you didn't like at all.
I think that there was too much.
veterancy and big brains.
Bang average.
There was like, if players were all peaking, then maybe, but there was just a couple of names in the mix there earlier that I didn't think they were going to get a lot out of. I think I was really harsh on them in a broadcast once, for no apparent reason.
Oh yeah,
I think I was just having a bad day.
You're an
yeah, I don't know why.
I mean, we did kind of shit on them a lot, and honestly, they did nothing. Like, they didn't qualify for a major. They never won a tournament. They did nothing. Like, it's just a fact. Like, they have been okay, but underwhelming for some of the players. Like, not the whole constellation of the teams, but like, they always had good players that felt like could do more, but didn't. I kind of agree. Like, this lineup is exciting. I was reading the interview / article, mantuu on Dexter. Honestly, felt like I'm reading like a PR straight from the agent, and not really sold on the whole storyline that they tried to put out there. Like, I was an aggressive opper, but then they told me to not be aggressive, and then they said I was not aggressive enough, so they replaced me with an aggressive opper. I feel like it's kind of an excuse that doesn't really work out just like that. Seems kind of almost childlike to try to portray it as such. Honestly,
interesting.
I mean, I thought
it's like,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no.
What's your rebuttal here, Striker?
I mean, no, I actually just wanted to support it because I think was it YNK who was kind of in a conversation with somebody,
with Frankie, yeah,
I think so, who said something along the lines of, I'm pretty sure this was YNK. I don't want to misattribute this.
Yeah,
but
he said you don't become a
exactly, like, you don't get forced into playing passively if you have the impact as an aggressive opera, you know. So that's kind of like the line of thinking that I really generally agree with. Like, if you're a degster opera, like if you're an opera like Dexter, right? And you go into a team and you got fucking provided all these openings and you're like obviously really impactful. Like, you're a game that is not going to come to you and say, well, we don't really agree with like this. Like, we really like the modern style of opping that is passive, and like, we don't like the impact that you're giving us. Like, that's not going to happen, I feel like. So I think that's kind of what I was thinking. It's possible that this happened super early on and they just, like, Aleksib just had this vision and thought, okay, well, can you play this way? And this is how I want to set the team up. And so mantuu never really got the chance to show what
mantuu
exactly.
Was never a primary AWPer?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he
when he first came in, alternate attacks.
I don't just remember him ever being an aggressive AWPer. I don't.
No, but that's the thing. I don't remember him being an AWPer at all, because when he came on, he was an AWPer. You know what I mean?
We're talking about like OG. No one watched him before OG. Mostly, no one watched him before OG. That's why. That's why.
But he was like he was a hybrid, before.
Yeah, so it just doesn't feel like the storyline doesn't make sense to me.
I think he's a good player though. Like,
I think he's a good player.
I think he could find himself in a team and actually be a very impactful AWPer, because I like the way he AWPed. Like, I was like, sure, okay, maybe he could be a bit more aggressive, right? But that's not the part of his game that, like, I looked at. I was like, okay, like, he's doing his job. He looks like he's doing his part. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see where mantuu can find himself. We have a lot of names like that at the moment.
I think he should be pretty okay with finding a new team, though. I feel like international team, English speaking, good English,
complexity.
Any NA team could be an option, right? Not liquid, but complexity, e.g. Why not? Any of these teams, both of them, he could fit in right in and be an upgrade, be like a very big upgrade, I feel like, for either of those teams. And they'll pay him fairly well, so why not?
I feel like he's a symptom of modern days Counter-Strike these days, right? I think there's a severe lack of star quality AWP players compared to what we maybe had in the past. You know, there's very few players who right now is able to raise above, you know, the innate protocols of all these teams. You know, I feel like the way you utilize utility in terms of Molotov, smokes, flashes nowadays are 10 times better than they were just 2 years ago. So for AWP players, in order to have a lot of impact consistently, like simple Saivu, perhaps Modesty in the future as well, right? You really need to be a strong AWP player. I feel like there's a lot of these, you know, decent AWP players right now that are suffering from the way we play Counter-Strike right now. mantuu is a great example. There's other AWPers out there, you know, who are good, talented players, but had they played Counter-Strike 2 years ago, they would have been the stars of their teams, no doubt. They would have been posting, you know, 1.20 ratings all the time. But given the way we play Counter-Strike these days, it's just so nerdy, it's so methodical, and I think the AWP players really have to be very strong in order to rise above that. Otherwise, they'll just be mediocre. And I think mantuu is unfortunately one of those players that haven't really figured that out just yet. So it's hard to see where he's going, to be honest.
How old is he? Because I think like this is important as well, because he got a lot of experience with. He's 24. Okay, so he's reaching the point now. If he joins like a team that, yeah, okay, I guess the next couple of months will be quite telling for a lot of these names because you see what happened to some of them, right? Like JACKZ, for example, is still sidelined. That's just one of these names who's been sidelined for some time. It's curious to see what will happen with this next batch. Prof already spoke about it before about some of the contract prisons that these guys find themselves in. Let's jump into exactly that place, Prof. JACKZ and Aleksib. They've both been given an opportunity to go and explore their options here, which sounds yeah. Well, we know 2 changes are coming. We know that G2 are changing 2 players. It's pretty straightforward, huh?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Fuckboy summer seems like everyone's exploring their options.
There you go.
So Aleksib and JACKZ are maybe, who knows. Are you interested?
Yeah, perhaps, I'll see you in heaven.
We'll see. Slide into my DMs later. We can talk about it. First off, okay, so Aleksib B, I think this was a kind of a long time coming, almost for
He only joined this year.
Yeah, a long time coming.
Okay.
No,
fair enough.
But like everything that we've kind of heard, things didn't really like between the trio of NiKo and Xtrfy and Aleksib B, that things didn't work. So you're not going to cut NiKo, and then I guess they decided Aleksib B was the weak link, and they didn't like how he did stuff. Obviously, not still a done deal. They're just exploring options. Maybe they come back together. That's how it is, right?
Well, let's do this, right? Let's live on 2 sides of this because we can have the G2 who they should get conversation once we get into the next bit. Let's just talk about where Aleksib and JACKZ could go. Let's speculate here because we can talk about G2 until the cows come home. Is there an easy option for JACKZ? It has to be back to a French team, right?
Probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, his English was never that great, so I feel like going to the international roster would still be kind of a gamble to a degree. And there's also nobody really that he could join at the moment. So where there's a spot free, and especially for his role, so it's got to be some sort of a new French super team.
So we're talking
like a Reunion,
Falcons,
whatever.
LDLC, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Amanek just joined LDLC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so JACKZ is going to have to go that route, unfortunately. Aleksib B is an interesting conversation. I think that he now enters the same field as Alex. Had a bunch of teams now. You've had a bunch of teams. You've had a couple cracks. You've had
some of the
players.
best players, some of the best players in the world playing with you.
Okay, now what? Right? Where's the issue here? Is it the leader? Like, I don't know. I don't know what happens to Aleksib now. I don't know where he goes. Where does he join?
I think he was good in OG, right? I think I'm also want to drive the conversation later, maybe perhaps to whether or not it's possible to be a good in-game leader playing with NiKo. I think he's a great player, obviously, but that's seemed to be tough. Even Kerrigan had to live and die by that, in FaZe Clan, getting ratted out from that team at some point. So there must be something, for Aleksib B where he's like, I couldn't work with these guys. I think what he did in OG with a bang average team, mediocrity at his finest, they were decent, No, they never qualified for a major, but they had a couple of decent runs, a tournament win as well, I believe, and were always competitive in a way, right? They were always one of those teams that could make top 8, top 6 at a tournament. So I think Aleksib B is far ahead of Alex, at least in my opinion. If I'm a GM right now and I'm scouting for the market for in-game leaders, I still think Aleksib B is a player that should be able to find a good proper home, where the salary is still top notch. But you're right, he's now in an area where he cannot fail anymore, right? He's had his one failure now with G2. Next time, if it doesn't work out too well, then I would put him in the category with Alex, but not quite yet.
Well, this is interesting, right? Because for me, like I look at where Aleksib can go in places that you could just punch him in immediately here. I think Fnatic, because they're trialing Mezzi as in-game leader with having HYPE there on a trial as well, right? So if you if you were Fnatic and you could swoop and you can make this happen, bang, right? That sounds like I would jump at that. Like I think with Nikodos, Roy, Karim's there, Mezzi there, I'd be there. I think that's a packed roster with good potential. And that's not to discredit anything from HYPE. It's just unfortunately for him, like that's the way this one would all kind of simmer on in. I think it would help.
If not that, then it's like a MOUZ Sports who probably aren't going to make that move right now.
But we said they don't spend money as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they can get them for cheap or free or whatever, then
or
maybe
a domestic
that's
team.
Or what?
A domestic team.
Back to Finland.
Havu is looking to rebuild.
Okay,
and
like maybe that is what he has to do. It's a lot of his
former teammates as well.
Yeah, they've got X7 and Ariel still. Aleksib joins. Yampy comes back.
Finish Last Dance.
Sergey leaves the army.
Alu comes back.
It's all happening. We've solved it. Well, I think I don't know. For Aleksib, it gets hard. It gets difficult.
Yeah, I mean the biggest problem is kind of like getting somebody to get him out of the contract with G2.
Well, because there is one team that has a lot of money and misses an IGL,
which is
Apex.
Oh.
Okay, that's not a bad shout actually.
Nork. at the moment.
Totally forgot about Apex, man.
It was Chordy and Cillian are gone.
Isn't it? Why
It
would
is.
But like, where are you gonna go though?
Liquid.
But
Is Nitro safe? Why would you have Nitro as your in-game leader? He's been performing poorly ever since he came back. And
he's safe. You know Steve too well, mate. He's safe.
I know, and they love Nitro, and I love Nitro too. But you look at his performances, and you look at what he's done ever coming back from Valorant, and you can't tell me when you're looking at Liquid. They have an identity, you know, in terms of
but Jacob, I want to counter this. They have YEKINDAR, who is their in-game leader, AWPer, star fragger, entry fragger, best
Pretty
utility.
What if they had both? You know, what if they had both?
Okay, all right. I see where you're going with that. All right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a curious angle. It's a consideration for sure. I don't know. I just like if you're EG, right now we're really getting into the realms of fucking madness. If you're EG and you see all these scraps, right now you should be out there. You should be like the dog under the dinner table. You should be your drool should be filling the floor. Get me an Aleksib. I'll take a fucking mantuu. Give me one of these. You know, just start grabbing all these parts, and it's got to be better than what you're doing right now. Like,
but they're saving an ACS though, so it doesn't work.
True. You're right. You are right. Okay. Well, next topic. Spinx to Vitality. Striker, I turn to you when I want validity. Is there any here?
I mean, I've been hearing all kinds of things, but it seems like ENCE are kind of not changing anything, but it's still early, man. Like, that's the problem. Like,
Vitality aren't changing anything.
No, I'm saying ENCE aren't changing anything.
Okay.
So
well,
that's
Spinx is stay.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It seems like that team is going to stick together, but at the same time, like, this is still very early in the off season, and things usually happen only a couple of weeks down the line. And clearly, there have been some, you know, there's been some talk happening between some of these like key teams like G2, ENCE, Vitality, and stuff like that, but nothing seems to have gone through yet, and I'm not sure that anything will. But again, like this, things could move in the next 2 weeks. Like, you know, one team just comes up with an offer that's impossible to refuse, and then, you know, things happen. But just hasn't. It seems like nothing has happened so far. It's just fairly boring. So the first week.
Yeah, it definitely had like a lot of people talking, and the players were tweeting as they were and stuff. But I think this is the thing, like ENCE within their own team, I'm sure they have a lot of belief like of their team. So for Spinx, it would seem like a crazy move, even though it would get to move to another roster. But I'm sure he thinks his team is better than Vitality. Right?
Yeah, he's kind of going into a messy situation there. Like, I don't think his arrival is going to change fundamentally the team, right? The team has its issues, and it's going to be a nice upgrade player for player, but it's still a messy situation. Like in ENCE, you kind of know what you're getting. Seems to have like a good chemistry vibe. They know how each other work. So I don't know. It's a tricky one because it is a much bigger team, and you're playing with some of the best players of all time, and you're probably going to get maybe double the salary. So and probably as an org, maybe are also enticed to sell him if it's a big enough buyout. So a couple of things are kind of tricky. And I feel for ENCE also, even though Spinx is their best player, it's not impossible to replace him. There is this one handsome Australian guy that
but he should just go to Vitality. I don't even know why Vitality aren't just going, hey, let's just get JKS, let's replace MOUZ, let's put dupreeh in more entry roles, right? Let's have JKS come in here, do the anchors of the site. We're lacking a player like that who's traditionally played it. He can do it. Like, that should be the first port of call. Like, if you're going to put Spinx in that position, Spinx needs you. Snappy gives Spinx the world. Spinx, what do you want to do? You can do it, mate. You can, like, do you reckon they're going to do that over there at Vitality? JKS is going to get bitch rolls again.
JKS and Vitality would be nice, you know, no doubt. But I agree, would it fix their problems? I don't really think so. Like, I can't help to think, at least from a Danish perspective as well, when I look at players like dupreeh, Spinx, Magix for that matter as well. I think JACKZ is a great example. Like, we're getting to a point where when you've been average for a year or two, even though you used to be a star player, even though you used to be super, super good, is there any way of coming back from that? Like, are you going to be good enough? I feel like when I watch Vitality play, sure, there's some communicational errors, and sure, you can see the synergy between the players are far from where it's supposed to be. But if you want to add up for that, then you add in individual firepower, and Magix and dupreeh haven't really shown me that individual firepower whatsoever in their time in Vitality so far, right? So are we at a point where we need to accept, I guess, when you have players like JACKZ, you have players like dupreeh, and you have players like Magix, you know, that they may have to take a step down, not necessarily, you know, leave the team, but maybe take less of a role, you know, put Magix in MOUZ's role and then bring in raw firepower in terms of Spinx. I feel like, to me, that would make more sense, where some of these players will have to admit at some point, we're not as good as we used to be, and go the JACKZ route, where you are as beneficial as you can be given the skill level and skill ceiling you have.
wasn't the team built to win now? Though, like, wasn't that the reason these changes happened, right? So the first 6 months have been like very disappointing for both them and G2, regardless of the finals appearances they had, right? I think the thing is, it's now about trying to salvage what they have and see if they can get, because the thing is, maybe you give them another 6 months with a roster change or two for both of those names. And then again, after another 6 months, like, okay, then do we have to start again, or do we have to look at bigger issues here? I don't know. Let's do Skinionaire, because I want to get into the rumor mill where we can go a bit free in the field about this one. So who's answering this? Is Jacob going to answer these?
I guess Pimp, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do it with him, Striker?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Cool.
I don't know what
if you need any assistance, Jacob, we will have our friend Striker here standing by. Now, Bitskins brought to you by Bitskins. In case you miss it, it's 5 questions, multiple choice answers. Every question that Jacob Pimp Finicky is going to get correct will move up a notch of the available skin tier to our viewers at home. Our viewers at home in Twitch chat right now live need to type Bitskins. Just type Bitskins without an exclamation point.
I love when you go
You're so good at this. You're so good at this.
Mode. It's so funny.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Question number 1. Which team finished second in the last 2 seasons of the Academy League? Was it A, Astralis, B, Big, or C, NAVI?
Oh, God.
Did you work these events?
I covered these events, yeah.
Memorable events.
The last 2, it would have been.
You've still got 35 seconds.
Shit.
I know what it is. So
it's not Astralis. Okay, yeah, it's not Astralis.
It's not Astralis, though.
No, I can't just remember the NAVI final where Flamey was playing GTA in the middle of the maps. Was that the second?
No, I think it was Forza Horizon. That was a long time ago.
Gotta get the game specific.
Then I'll go with Big.
Going with Big. Locking in Big. Correct answer is Big. Congratulations, Jacob. First one correct as we move swiftly forward onto who wants to be a Skinionaire question 2. What is the lowest ranked team that will participate in EPL season 16? Is it A, FTW, B, EG, or C, Endpoint?
Does EG even have a ranking? Which one of the EG teams is it? Like the Junji one, the American one?
The main.
Should be the main one.
The main one.
What is the main one?
Well, exactly.
I mean,
the one that we don't even know the team.
The one that hasn't played for a long enough time that they probably don't have a ranking.
Do they even have a ranking? Yeah, exactly.
They have a ranking.
They have a ranking.
FTW qualified, right?
I mean, it's got to.
Well, it has to be EG, yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, let's lock in everyone's favorite team, EG, and the correct answer is EG. Okay. Well, that's a partner team. Everybody playing at home. Let's really rub salt in that wound. All right. Let's jump into question number 3 as we continue to keep a flawless victory. Which player had the highest rating at IEM Cologne but played just 9 maps? Is it A, Simple, B, ZywOo, or C, NiKo?
That'd be NiKo. NiKo was pretty good, wasn't he?
I mean, Simple played more maps than that.
Yeah, exactly. ZywOo, I can't remember how many maps he played.
Fucking prof.
What's tricky about it? It's just
tricked by the 9 maps, mate. We get tricked by the 9 maps.
That's just
usually filter that out, right? You don't want to look at the noobs.
That's to guide you. If you go on the event, he's there on the top.
Okay, well, I could do that right now, right? So
you could.
Yeah.
Are you a cheater, Pimp?
Yes.
I think it's gotta be NiKo, man. I think he played.
I think so too. He was good. Series. Yeah, and I don't think ZywOo had a great tournament.
Are we locking it in?
We're locking in NiKo. Yeah.
Locking in C. NiKo. Correct answer is.
He's good. He's good.
What?
Ooh. Okay.
B, the Woo. Correct answer was the Woo. Prof, you want to answer this?
No, he just had the highest rating.
Well, and that's the facts, everybody. That's the facts. All right. Question number 4. What is the ranking of Aminex's new team, LDLC? Well, we spoke about them. 50, 100, or 200. Nice round numbers for you guys.
Is there even a difference between rank of 100 and 200? I mean,
it's like,
do they have 2 points or 6?
1 or 2 points, probably.
It's irrelevant or turbo irrelevant.
Fuck me. I'd say 100 probably. I don't know. What are you thinking, Striker?
Do you know any player? I would say a single player that's on
that
the team.
Gravity guy? I always seem to queue against these LDLC guys and face it with what's his name?
Maybe that's where they practice.
Maybe that's where the IHC practice. So
how are you doing in face it these days?
I haven't been playing recently. When I say I've been playing, that for me.
I'll
is
just say they're just slightly higher ranked than EG. Just a couple of spots.
Well, that doesn't help. We don't know what EG's rank is.
I mean, I think EG are just like really down somewhere fucked though. So it's 200, man.
We got
5 seconds.
8 seconds.
Fuck, it gotta be 100. It gotta be 100.
100. All right, locking in 100. The correct answer is D200. And you see there, Prof went B, 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 and then C. So just keep in mind here as we go into the final one, there might be a bit of a pattern. All right, we're going to go into the final question of who wants to be a Skinionaire. Who has the highest all-time HLTV rating? SPUNJ, Striker, or Pimp? I would guarantee I know the answer for this one. I would have the lowest. I would have 100% the lowest. Striker played some fucking Mickey Mouse tournament and probably didn't bottom frag like me. It has to be. It has to be Jacob.
Hey, you had some pretty good games though.
No. It
wasn't like a.
Do you want?
I can't
a tip? Do you want a tip?
Because I'm part of.
Do you guys want a tip?
Yeah.
Whoever it is has a rating higher than 1.30.
Okay, well that's
then it
rules out SPUNJ. Yeah, rules out SPUNJ.
Well, it has to be Striker then, right?
Wait, what is
no?
This?
It's like maybe I have a 1.35.
This is all time. The highest
all time. Okay. So
who has the highest all time HLT? I thought it was just the general rating. Okay,
no.
Never mind.
Okay,
I don't know.
It could be you, but it's not you. It's me. I'm the best. So
we're locking it in. I think my highest would have been like the Titan game.
Yeah.
No, but
what?
What have you played, Striker?
Career average. Career average rating.
Well,
that's a stupid
all-time
question.
Okay. Well, yeah, I fucking hate that question. All right, it doesn't matter.
People can't read. It
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. Because guess what? It's my birthday.
No, you can't. You can't.
And we're doing it.
We're giving away the Glock.
Do it. No.
Sucks.
We're giving away the knife.
You're the worst.
It's my birthday, Prof.
Did you make the questions, Prof?
No, it was some other guy.
We're giving away. We're giving it away. We're giving it away.
Give away the knife, yeah. Otherwise,
we're giving away the knife.
Yeah.
All right, Lucas, we need a winner, mate. The winner is Chownzy Nation. CHOWNNZNATION. Following since 2021. Thank you. You've won the prize. Cow, I don't know how to say your name, mate. I swear I'm fucking dyslexic or something. I'm staring at this thing, thinking, how is this a name? What's his name about? Anyway, doesn't matter. He's won, and we're going to move on because we got more to talk about here. Tournament break. All right, we're just in the conversation about this already. Let's jump straight back into it immediately. G2 is someone that a lot of us want to talk about here, right? And when I say a lot of us, I mean the people in chat. We got a lot of G2 fans, right? And if they're not heard, they'll make some comments. And we want to avoid the comments here. So, Striker, when you're looking at G2, you know they're removing 2 players. You know that NiKo stand, you know that Hunter stand, X has the coaches stand, and Monosy the Young Buck AWP stand. What type of players are you looking to fill this? If you could pick 2 players right now, like from any team, right? This is just to help people understand what we think. Right now, we're starting with you. G2 need to fix this boat. If you could just pick from any team, and then we can talk about what's realistic, what they should make offers for, that kind of stuff.
I'll do. I think you're gonna like this.
Okay, here we go.
I'll do Hampus.
Nice.
And I'll do YEKINDAR.
Ooh.
Damn.
Okay. All right.
I think YEKINDAR is the one that I'm kind of like more on the fence with, just because it's a lot of playmakers on that team at the moment. Like that's just like everybody's just making plays, but might as well just go fucking hard.
You've gone very firepower heavy here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think they probably have to go that direction anyway. So I think that there's a bit of conversation to be had about the YEKINDAR point, right? Do they need a player to be, like you said, do they need a playmaker or do they need a solid anchor, right? I think that's probably a fair for that slot. We obviously know they need an in-game leader, and it would be better if they'd have an in-game leader who wants to make space. That would help out NiKo and Hunter a lot, right? Yep. You could have a player to do that, but then your in-game leader would be more like a rotation in-game leader or a site anchor jumping and playing for info on B Mirage type in-game leader, right? Like he's not going to be a guy playing around the central points of the map here. So, I think the in-game leader is the clear one. And I don't know who is available. Does anybody have the laundry list? Because Alex, we mentioned
there's Alex. Alex is a really is kind of like almost too much of a no-brainer for G2 just because of the Xtrfy connection. He's free, or probably just doesn't cost much even if he's under contract with Fnatic because he's been there for a long time.
Pimp is cringing super hard, I feel like.
There's no fucking way Alex is joining G2.
I mean, I'm not saying that it will happen, but
no, but like it's not a no-brainer. It's like do we want to be a top quality team that's going to win tournaments and win majors? You go for Alex, who's done fuck all ever since leaving Vitality. And maybe the argument is that he only did stuff in Vitality because of Saivu, who he then went out in interviews afterwards and said that we perhaps catered a little bit too much for. Like I'm so confused with Alex's career. Probably a nice guy, but he's not a fit for G2 at all.
Nice guy, but fuck it.
It's.
No, I mean, I'm saying no-brainer because it just fits, in terms of like Xtrfy, and then he's just on the market.
It'll be dumb. It'll be dumb. Let's put it that way.
Who else? Like, so the thing is, with the Alex edition, I can see the link that Striker's bringing up here, but my problem is, I think Alex is a good player and a good like tactician, but I think that a team like G2 need like a leader, right? Someone needs to come in.
I wonder. I'm not actually sure that that's true.
You don't think so?
No, but because I think you're always going to bump heads in that team, so you might as well just get somebody who's just going to call. You know, like Nexa was kind of almost the perfect fit for that, just because you know he just called. You know, it's not like he was a mega big leader or anything like that. We didn't really expect him to take massive authority over everybody in G2, but he just called the style that kind of they were all kind of comfortable with. So I think if you bring in a strong personality into G2, I think it's always going to be a struggle.
Should they get Nexa back then?
I mean that is an option, yeah.
Well, this is the thing though, because you think about it, right? If you're looking for in-game leaders, right, and you think that they don't need to be a leader, I think that they do need to be like a leader. Like, this is the thing. I at some point, right, it is going to work. It has. What about Tabson?
Yeah.
What about
Tabson? Never happening. By the way, there's no chance.
There's a chance.
I don't necessarily even think it would work. I don't know.
Really?
With Tabson?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
I don't. Just the way Big play versus how G2 play, how NiKo wants to play. I feel like it's going to be a bit too structured to set up style.
Yeah, that's true.
Gimmicky smokes.
Always some move. Yeah.
Yeah, always kind of pre-planned rounds. Not always, but like primarily pre-planned rounds and like building a whole game plan around that. I don't know if I actually like that move. Like, if you just think of like, oh, Tabson, great fragging game leader, great history, one of the best players to not accomplish that much. You feel like that could be the move, and maybe it could, but I'm kind of skeptical, especially if the whole rumor about like Gabi plus Tabson, and then combined with NiKo. I'm not really sure about that. And people also said like they have great history together, but I'm not really sure that's actually correct. Didn't like Gabi get kicked out of MOUZ after NiKo joined? I'm pretty sure that's not like a great relationship.
Yeah, I feel like there's two things in this one, right? You're saying it's not possible with Tabson going to G2. I definitely think it is, because you're hitting it spot on right here, Prof. Like, it's a player that hasn't accomplished much considering how good he is, right? If you have any ambitions as a player, I know that he's been in Big, and I know he's part of the project, and he's very invested into the Big brand, and he is sort of like the Francesco Totti, whether or not you want it of Big, right? But at some point in your career, with the ambitions that he's clearly having and with how passionate he is for the game, he must consider himself going to a team that is willing.
But why would he leave now? Like, why
Big
now?
can't win anything. Big is not a team that's going to win any big tournament or win a major or come anywhere close to that. So if you have any ambitions as a player, and if you're as good as Tabson is, then of course at some point you must at least consider.
Why Big? Why won't Big win an event?
I don't think there's enough German talent at all in order to facilitate that.
Is the opera the problem? Is that?
Well, not online at least. I mean, it's a good team. And
there's a German-speaking opera on the market right now.
Yeah, mantuu, but they were never going to reply. Like, the thing is,
Sirison is good.
He does enough, right? But the thing is, this is the problem everyone has with Sirison, right? Is he's fucking sick. We watch him, we love it. The thing is, he just can't do the same stuff outside of his bedroom that he can in his bedroom. But it's not like, we're not saying that he sucks on LAN. He's still good on LAN. He's just not fucking owning everybody on LAN like he does online. And that's just the comfort of the guy, right? You've heard that we see it. We're doing signing sessions, right, with some people in Cologne, right? The fans, they could queue up, they could come, they could have a chat. I think it was like me, Machine, Yanko was there. I think Stunner was there, and people were coming, and they all had these. This guy, he had made this shirt. It was like a big shirt, and it had like Sirison on it and stuff and everything, and everything was signed and big mouse pads and everything, and all the signatures there, Keto, Crimbo, like God B, everybody. I'm like, oh, where's Sirison? It's like, well, he didn't come. And even the fans were done. I was like, yeah, he's at home in his bedroom, right? Like, it's just become that much of a. That was the fans. That wasn't even like us. That was the fans of Big wearing a big fucking literally a custom made shirt, right? So, like, the thing is, it does obviously get drilled in. I think that there's a chance for Big if they could make some personal. I think the Crimbo, we don't even get C Faven play, right? We haven't got like the kids stick all the time. Where I don't know where that team's at, but the thing is, what Jacob's saying about for Tabson here, I can see like the lifetime of Tabson's career. He's now one of the older gamers, right? Like, he's not a young buck anymore. So don't know, maybe a little bit more. Let me have a look. It's only 27. Actually, I tell a lie. I'm sorry, Tabson. You're younger than I thought you were. Okay, maybe he's, but I get the point. He's getting to the point in his career where if he wants to be lifting the trophies, it either has to be now or never with big, or maybe now or in the next, I don't know, 18 months. Whereas if he tries to make an ambitious move to G2, then maybe that's something that they could, they could try and vie for trophies sooner. That's kind of the deal with the international teams I look at. International teams are like a quick fix. Like, fuck, I got to get my one, right? How's this going to work? How did I even start? How did I even get the one? We don't even know. I don't even, that's for sure. Look, how the fuck did we get there? Anyway.
All right, the reason I said that it was never going to happen is because this is a brand player for big. Like, he's even a co-owner in the organization to some level. I heard some numbers flying around in Reddit. I have no clue where they came from, but somebody said that he has 8% stake. I don't think there's a way that he has 8% in big.
Well, so did Astralis back in the days, according to me, right?
Yeah. But he is clearly a player that would be difficult to get out of big unless his contract is short. Like that is a player that you just can't replace if you're big. Yeah. Like, you're not going to let him go unless it's like an offer that you just can't refuse. And like we said, G2 aren't necessarily the most known for overspending on players, that especially on somebody as, that's not a sure thing. Like, it's not a sure fix for the lineup that they have.
So does Collis just talk a big game, you reckon? Talking about wanting to win and shit? Like, if they're not going to spend big on the players, then how are they meant to win?
Yeah, I mean, look, they do spend when it's somebody really big. If you think about NiKo, that's historically
Modesty was expensive.
Modesty was expensive, but those are two players that you are really investing far into the future, because those are just fucking huge, massive talents, right? But are you really going to spend $1 million on a Tabson or an in-game leader that you just don't know if they're going to fit in with NiKo or whatever with the rest of the team? Like, they're not stupid. Like, they're not North American organizations type investment where they'll just like fucking throw money at things until something sticks. Like, Carlos is just a very smart businessman in this sense. He will take big risks, or maybe not big risk, but he will make big investments on players that make sense.
But that's sorry if I may interrupt here. Right? That's my big problem right here. Is G2 willing to take big risks? Because if so, that's the main reason I want Tabson to go to G2. I need someone to be able to take the fight against NiKo. Perhaps, I don't know if it's NiKo, single-handedly ruling that team or dictating where they're gonna go. But I've also heard rumors, in terms of what Aleksib couldn't get done, and how sometimes NiKo would overrule a call from Aleksib, etc., etc. Obviously, we don't know whether or not that's true, and we don't know how much that's happening. We don't know how the environment is in practice, but I know for a fact that Tabson would be one of the few profiles, to me at least, who would be able to go into that team and tell NiKo to shut the hell up, if he needs to shut the hell up. And I think someone has to take that fight. If it's not coming from the G2 org, if they can't control NiKo, if they can't tell him to shut the hell up because they just re-signed him as well after having him, play the best 6 months of his entire career, that must be big bucks as well. So I'm not really buying the argument that G2 is not willing to spend money. They're spending a hell of a lot of money in terms of salary as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't re-sign Hunter, you wouldn't re-sign NiKo, especially after a period where they're playing some of the best Counter-Strike ever. Someone needs to take the fight against NiKo and be able to tell him to shut up whenever he needs to shut up, and maybe perhaps figure out a solution where he can, I guess, integrate himself into a team that is playing good Counter-Strike together. And I think Tabson is one of the few in-game leaders that I would trust with that task. The rest, sure, they can come in, they'll probably end up like Aleksib, and we won't see a G2, actually fulfill the potential.
That's you were going to say Chris J there, weren't you, Prof? That's an easy one, right? Easy one. Everyone read the room on that. Look, I think for me, I think the pack, right? The map control pack should be m0NESY, NiKo, and then the in-game leader. And the in-game leader needs to be a space-taking in-game leader. And then you have an anchor player who's passive, right? Who's not going to try and look for too much control on the map. And then you have Hunter, who likes to get set up with some room and then lurk and be an active lurk. That's what the team's missing. I don't want to see Aleksib passively, right? And JACKZ had to go aggressively because they didn't have any other option for JACKZ. That was what he was good at. That's what they used him as. But the in-game leader, I think, should be doing that to facilitate NiKo to come in to get that shot, or m0NESY to come out and hit that fast flick. That should be the pack. And I think an in-game leader like maybe Hampus, who will go out mid for you on Ancient and take the space, and then they can come behind him and take the fights off the information, or an in-game leader that's what they need. I think
is also a kind of the right fit in terms of that.
Sure. Didn't you say that ends staying together though?
Yeah, I mean, it would
more like
surprise me if it
speculation.
came through. Obviously, it's just a player that it's really difficult to see them not at least consider, and ask if or how much he would be or whatever, So it's kind of like one of those things. There's a lot of good fits, and I'm not sure how many of them are going to be actually possible to pull off.
people talking about Boomich as well. Like, I don't mean to disrespect Boomich at all. I'm sure he's a really lovely guy, but I would not allow someone who made that bad life choices to be the in-game leader of my Counter-Strike team, right? And I know that's personal life and that's all that kind of stuff. And but like,
he needs to start somewhere lower.
I think so,
for sure.
I think so. I don't think he's getting straight into a team like G2. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this is the thing. They're meant to be like the leader of the team and stuff. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't be picking Boomich. I just wouldn't be picking Boomich. It wouldn't be on my list.
Don't you think when you look at G2, right? I feel some of the problems they've had the past 2 years with the team, when you're seeing them, play certain clutches or play certain games where they, for some reason, decide to throw the games and not win when they're in a position to win. I feel like it's some of the same, things we've seen with the Aleksib roster as well. You change your in-game leader, you change the style you're playing, you're changing 2 players as well. You bring in MONIZY and you still have some of the same problems happening in the game, right? I'm getting to a point where I would like Hampus as well in G2, but I feel like Hampus would just be, he'd be an upgrade of Aleksib in terms of an individual. I also think Hampus is a fantastic in-game leader, but it will be more of the same problems unless you go in and fix whatever issues there's within the team. Whoever is causing those problems, and by all means, I have no idea how it is to play with NiKo.
I don't know, man.
All I see is him being the best rifler in the entire world. He's a fantastic, talented player, but when you have so much talent surrounding yourself, there must be something else going wrong within that team, right? And you need to fix that before we start talking about fraggers who put up, or in-game leaders who put up more frags than Aleksib. I don't think Aleksib failed that much in G2. I think he just came into a team that is clear enough.
So you support Snappy to G2 then, if it's not about fragging?
I mean, if he has the personality to stand up for whatever the problems are.
But I don't know, Jacob. You're making it all about NiKo here. I don't think it's all about NiKo. Like, when is the last time this has been a complete team? Like, think about all the stuff. Like, when Kenny was open, then Amanek's open, then this guy's in, then this guy's out.
I'd say like this year they were a complete team. Like, they had everything kind of set. Like, they had the rules covered.
I would say only kind of. Like, look at JACKZ, man. Look at JACKZ. Look at his rating. Look at it. No, but JACKZ is an awesome human. I love him. Every time I see him, I get a massive smile on my face because he's genuinely a great human being. But if we're talking about his contribution to the team this year, right, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great at all, right? You have to contribute.
But do you think they need more firepower? Like, you can't argue that G2 needs more firepower. Like, I would be happy with JACKZ. I don't care. Bring in JACKZ instead of Flex.
Guys? How? Compare them to the best teams in the world. Think about what we're saying right now. You can have one weak link. It can be your in-game leader. That's it.
No, I'm not saying that two people.
But you think that the G2 roster this year with JACKZ and Aleksib are comparable firepower-wise, almost player for player, with a NAVI or a FaZe that ended the season? There's no way.
No.
That's not even. You can have Aleksib, but you can't have JACKZ, or you can have JACKZ, but you can't have Aleksib. That's the thing. You need 4 players who are solid, who are strong, right? Who are going to give you the performances that you need. That's it. Like, I don't think NiKo's the issue, right? Like, I think that NiKo gets a bad rap. I think that he definitely can be a difficult person to work with. I don't think that's any doubt, but I don't think he's like the issue with the team.
Sure.
Right. I don't think that he's going to be causing the problems of the team not performing. Like,
listen, we don't know, right? We don't know. I'm not making all this about NiKo because we're not there when they practice. We're not there when they discuss stuff. We're not there when they're communicating on TeamSpeak. All we can see is from the outside perspective, some of the same problems we saw with G2 a year ago and even 2 years ago when NiKo first time joined. It's not about NiKo. He's just the main guy, I guess, to point out because he's been there for so long and he has been one of the best players, if not the best player in the world at times within G2. There's still some of the same reoccurring problems. They've changed in-game leader. They changed AWP now. Going out was Amanek, coming in MONIZY. He hasn't really fulfilled his entire potential yet, right? He's having a bit of a tough time, at least according to me, to find consistency and play at the level that I know he can. Even from practice rumors as well, he's absurdly good, and way better than we see in the official matches. So there's still something not clicking within G2. And whether that's on NiKo or Hunter or coach change maybe or philosophy change, I don't know. But we can't argue that there's not an identity problem within G2, right? And it hasn't helped them changing style of in-game leader. It hasn't helped them changing players. And you can take JKS, put him in instead of JACKZ, and it'll probably be a better team. But would they be better than FaZe and NAVI, which they, at least according to me, have the player material to be? And I don't see that happening. So to me, it's a core issue and a philosophy issue, but I can't pinpoint what it is. I need to speak more to the team or more to the coaches to figure that out.
I think the fact they're changing 2 is good. Like, I think that you need to change 2. You can't just change one player or one personnel here and expect it to have any drastic change because things will just continue the way they're going. The biggest one that is the question mark is, and this is why I think the player they get to replace JACKZ, it doesn't matter to me which way they want to formulate it, right? If they want to have someone aggressive, like Striker said, with a YEKINDAR, who's going to be a space taker and a playmaker, or if they want to have someone who's a bit more clutch, is going to anchor bomb sites, come in late, right, and do that dirty work like a Perfecto or somebody like that, right? I'm not saying they're going to get Perfecto. I'm just giving people comparisons here. He's going to lock down your site. He's going to do the job for you. He's not going to complain. He's just going to do the job. That, I think that they could go either way, and they could make the pieces they have with NiKo and Hunter work of either of those two. I think those are both very malleable players, and you can do what you need to do with them. The biggest issue is the in-game leader, and this is the one where Striker thinks they need someone who's just there to call the shots, right? And you and I think, Jacob, we need someone there who's going to be a bit more of a personality. I just think they need a bit more of a personality to rally behind. I don't even think they need a bit of a personality to like necessarily whip them into shape. Just somebody to believe in. And it sounds like wanky, like we're talking about Mighty Ducks here or some shit, but like that's what I think. Like I think they need somebody like what YEKINDAR did for Liquid in a way, right? Like to be that heart and likable member of the team that everybody wants to play for and win for. I don't think YEKINDAR would be that player in G2. I don't know who would be that person. Right? That's the thing. I can't think of anybody who would have that type of personality that would help.
Do we know what Xtrfy, like he was rumored out, but is he still with them? Is he staying?
That was
like,
just around the big news. I don't think there's any legitimacy to the big conversation. I think the big conversation was just like one of those like oil CS leak fucking things, right? Like I didn't hear anything that had any validity to it.
I mean, there's always a chance that they just talked, behind the scenes, but it just never really went to anything. It never really got to any like organization level talks. It's just one of those things. It just doesn't seem to be going through though.
But this is the thing, like they're still not. It's the same with Vitality. Both of these teams are not far from being because unfortunately,
look at fucking FaZe. What they did? They just needed one change. They needed the one right play. Like look at FaZe last year. Look at FaZe this year. That's one player difference. Obviously, it's a Rob's difference. It's a pretty fucking big different player. But who's to say that it's not a YEKINDAR? Or whatever it is.
All right. Have we spent enough time on G2?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I want to jump into. Is there any other potential rumors that we want to? Because we kind of covered off on a lot of them.
There was the Rigon to G2.
I don't think there's any validity to that one either.
I didn't hear that ever.
Like Loba, the in-game lead, and Rigon to be their entry. I think is the rumor. Right?
No, it just came from Loba. It wasn't he. He wasn't involved in the.
Well, maybe that could be a FaZe stack they could do, and we could enjoy watching that. That could be fun. I don't think there's any truth to that one there. All right, what I wanted to talk about just quickly was the off-ramp we have off the player break, just so everybody understands. And there's a bit more to talk about this, obviously, because the RMR qualification dates were just announced. But we started the player break on the 18th, right, of July. We go all the way up until the 14th of August. The qualifiers begin immediately for that, and there was complaints about it. But guess what? Guess what? We're not going to have a conversation about it. Yeah, we're not even going to talk about it because I don't care anymore.
Same shit every year. It's not a player break. It's a tournament break.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's like it's called a tournament break for a reason. It's a month long, and obviously teams already end their break like actual vacation early just to get back into some sort of a shape for the first events of the new season, right? So like, and obviously open qualifiers are typically just for the teams below that as well. And obviously it's shit at the moment maybe in CS, but like you just have to work a little bit harder if you're the tier 2 team or just not the team that's in the system. That's just how it is. And is that wrong? I don't know, but
with all due respect, those teams also had the chance of taking vacations, outside of the schedule.
Yeah,
they could have taken a vacation during Cologne. Now knowing RMR came up, so I fully agree. Like it's trying to. You're taking like you're spinning it out of control a little bit if you feel like that's a major issue.
No, I mean that this was announced almost a month ahead of time. Like that's definitely a big improvement over the last year already. And I think that I was like, that was my first reaction. I'm like, okay, we have some lead up. Like teams can kind of prepare at least.
People have people like to complain in society. No, seriously, like people just like to complain. That's the fact. People do like to complain. The body that at least at one point I would have to review this sentiment, but at least at one point I thought that the players had the most power. I don't know if they do anymore. I'll have to reconsider that. I have to kind of line some things up. But if they actually had a functioning collective body, which is what the CSPPA is meant to be, then they could leverage that functioning body that they have to change these things. But they want to complain about it. We've spoken about this for years on end. Nothing has changed. And they still complain about it. So we're not going to talk about it because it doesn't matter. So we finish the player break. First thing is going to be these RMR qualifiers. Now, I do want to quickly talk about the fact that we only have 4 slots for Asia again. I think that's problematic. I think with all the stuff that ESL is wasting money in North America to try and prop up a dead scene, the least that they could do, or at least that Valve could do, is run an 8-team event for a massive it's a massive region. When you consider Oceania, China, all of
them. Too many different places that are too far away to play, to play in the same open qualifiers even, or like qualifying system.
And I can speak to this from my experience as a player who competed back in those kind of systems back in the day. It does a lot. It means a lot to be not only the best in Australia or the best in China or the best in Singapore or the best in wherever, but then to go in your little sub-region and play against the other ones and come back and go, yeah, we won that. That means a lot for a small region which already struggles with sponsorships and all this. Doesn't mean a lot to EU CS. Doesn't mean a lot to tier 1 CS, right? But it means a lot. It in my opinion, it means a lot. So I think 8 teams for this region, it could help. Like right now, if you know every time, if you're an Indonesian Counter-Strike player, if you know every time that you're going to go to one of these events, you're going to lose to the Chinese team or the Mongolian team or the Australian team, right? Like before you even get, actually it wouldn't be the Australian team, before you even get to the fucking final, like what's the point? You're not going to get any better. You're just playing online CS, all this shit ping. I think that's something which is a small change, which would do a lot for a region. And it doesn't feel like they're having to give them a lot. Just giving more places to attempt to qualify. I don't think that's anything that should be bad to ask for. So maybe we can bang on a couple more doors for that. But running out of the player break, this is the tail end of the season. This is the start of next season for everybody. RMRs, Blast Fall Groups, ESL Pro League, Blast Fall Showdown, RMRs, the major. Then after the major, it's like a couple of spotty events, and then you have the Blast World Finals, right? That's basically the end of the year.
Global, yeah.
Is it global
world final?
But fall finals first, and then
Didn't I say that? Oh, I didn't say full final. No, I said full showdown. Sorry, yeah, full finals and in Royal Arena, and then the world or global or whatever the fuck.
I mean, there's the ESL tournament as well, the LISA Masters. That's probably gonna have some decent teams, but it's probably too close to the major to have everybody, like all the big teams or whatever.
So what would we say the marquee ones here? It's going to be obviously the major, and then Blast Copenhagen, and then the Blast World Finals. That would be the 3 biggest events for the tail. That easily, right? Is there even anything else that comes in the conversation?
Pro League's obviously the like decently sized tournament, and there's a lot of teams there. But it's kind of like the first thing.
Grand Slam.
It could be a Grand Slam, unfortunately. Actually, it could be
another Studio Grand Slam.
Studio Grand Slam, yeah.
Is it just me, or do we need another big tournament coming into the fall season? I know Royal Arena is building up to be
it'll change next year, right?
I mean, if the off-season dates are going to be the way that CSPP announced it, I'm not sure that they will, because it seems like there's a discussion going on behind the scenes around that now.
Have you discussed how stupid that is? Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there's always going to be back and forth, right? And there's always going to be downsides to whatever you end up with. I mean, I understand both points, to be honest, in this case. But like, obviously, if it happens, then we'll sort the qualifier issue for the majors, because if the majors at the end of the season, then there's much more lead up time to the next major, and it's not going to fall like anywhere close to the break, obviously. And then second of all, I forgot what I wanted to say. What was the original discussion? What was the original discussion? There was an original question behind this.
About the marquee events for the tail end of the year. And, and then the question of, do we have enough big events in that end of the year?
No, what I wanted to say is Cologne is probably now going to end up in the second half of the break, second half of the season, if the breaks are going to be in the middle of June to July, because that's obviously where Cologne is normally. And it would make perfect sense, to have Katowice as like the staple event of the first part, and then a major, obviously, and then Cologne as the staple event of the second part plus a second major. That like logically this makes perfect sense to me, but obviously, there are other issues that go along with that.
You could have the Copenhagen Blast as another arena one in the second half, and then if they go back to return to Lisbon, you could have a Lisbon. And then there's already 3 and 3 big arena events, right? Thing is, I don't know if anybody, I might upset some of our viewers here, but obviously the Valorante is going on at the moment in Copenhagen, and they have like a 3,000 or 4,000 spectator kind of arena, and I don't hate it. Like, I think we could be doing venues of that size, configurations, all that's up for conversation. But I think it doesn't always have to be a fucking 12 to 15,000 arena.
You can create, like, if people who were at the first D-League major, like that was a relatively small venue. That was like a Fox Theater, right? And that was I think it was like 2,000 people, maybe something along those lines. That was a great atmosphere even then. Like, as long as you have the right venue, the right size venue, even a small crowd does a lot. Like that's a really big thing.
You remember Odense chat as well?
Yeah, that's a good size too.
That's a good size. Like 3,500K, I think.
Was it only 3.5?
3.5, yeah.
Is that it? It felt like a lot.
It felt like an awful lot, yeah.
What the fuck? Well, that's only 3,500 people. That's perfect. That's quite nice.
I mean, isn't Blast doing like a studio now? Like E-League had their own studio. Blast is doing
this could be breaking
like
news right here, Lucas.
no, they've been like putting it
like
on
audience,
Twitter.
like some audience, or
like
oh yeah,
they
that is
put
true.
the
I
stuff
think they
on
have
Twitter,
talked about it. Yeah, true.
how they would build their warehouse into a studio location.
Nice.
Well, it was like a blueprinty thing that they put out like 6 months ago or more, maybe even.
Well, it makes sense for them doing their group stage from a central location, right? When they did it in London, right? That wasn't really home base. I know they have an office out there in London, or at least they used to, but it makes more sense for them to do everything in Denmark, right? That's kind of where they have the home field advantage, for sure. And
speeding through.
Yeah, should we get into the fun stuff now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me find my little page. All right, we're going to jump into the awards for the season. We were discussing names of what we could come up with for the awards. I don't know if you guys know. Obviously you got the Academy Awards. What other awards you got out there? In Australia, we have the Logies, which is it sounds like a terrible thing. It sounds like a bogey. But basically, I think the Logies is for like television in Australia or something like that. But you have the Grammys, you have all those type of awards. So we were thinking of a name, and Prof, he spitballed a great one here for all the men's and the women's in the chat right now. It's the Jonathans. So everybody who wins tonight will be winning a uppercase E, and we will be shipping that out to you in 10 to 20 business years. So we will be. This is the Jonathans, presented to you by Jonathan E, the robot who moderates the forums. And yeah, look, we will also be putting it out there. If an individual or a team does win one of these prizes, they may or may not have the opportunity to reach out to Jonathan and get a user of their choice unbanned. So there's a couple of things. Or banned. Yeah, I guess the power can go both ways. So welcome to the the official Jonathans for 2022. We'll see if we can make this
inaugural edition
a returning feature. Now, some of these are going to be no-brainers. Now, the first one, as I look flashed.
Turn on the lights.
That's better. All right. Team of the season. I feel this one is kind of easy. It has to be.
Now it is, yeah.
It has to be FaZe, right? There can't be any chat about that. Has to be FaZe. Is there any other honorable mentions that we would throw in here?
Like NAVI is the only other team that you can even mention, but it's clear that they're not. And then putting any other team in the category would almost be pointless.
Okay, so FaZe, without a doubt, Katowice, the major, Pro League, Cologne, lock it up. There's Rops comes in.
I think kind of a mini discussion to have there kind of tied to FaZe is just how good do you think like their run now is? Like, how does it compare to like NAVI last year or like Liquid Grand Slam? Did they surpass these teams already or not?
Ooh. I would say not NAVI, because NAVI looked way more convincing during that. Maybe obviously, well,
they did blow out their competition.
Yeah, like when NAVI were playing, you just knew they were by far the best team. Like there was no discussion around it. But then with FaZe, obviously we've seen these struggles, and even when they win, it's very, very close, like we saw just now, or even in Katowice. So it's definitely a different feeling. It's not the same kind of level.
Flip that conversation though.
Yeah, go for it.
So you're presenting this, that when NAVI were winning, they were blowing everybody out of the water, right? FaZe are winning and the games are closer, and it's actually a lot more entertaining, right? Now, I don't want that last part to bleed in here, but because some of the games are closer, does that mean that Counter-Strike is, I don't know how we measure this, is this more competitive, right? Obviously, the scorelines would say, so does that detract from FaZe? Like, doesn't that mean that the teams that FaZe are playing now harder than the teams that NAVI were playing when NAVI were winning? That right there, I don't even know how we would have that comparison.
I mean, to a degree, you could tie this back to kind of like the lack of changes that a lot of teams made last year when NAVI were still dominating, because obviously a lot of teams went into this year just fucking going for the big bucks, big changes. G2, Vitality, even ENCE, brought in a change. Obviously, they were kind of like building up to that from last year already. And so I'm not sure that that's comparable. If you look at last year and how many like big changes like this happened, not that many off the top of my head. So I would say there is definitely some merit to that. The other teams are just stronger now, and also we have a kind of like a better second team that we did at that time, because during the NAVI era there were a lot of teams kind of back and forth. G2 were in a lot of those finals, but were they really the second best team of the second half of the season? Probably not, or at least there were a lot of other teams that are probably in that discussion. So I think there's merit to what you're saying.
I feel we haven't seen the best from FaZe at all yet. I feel like that's what I'm sitting back with and feeling right now. They won the major, they won Cologne, they won Katowice, and I don't think we've seen the best from FaZe yet. You know, I think a player like Twistzz, great example. You know, showed up big in the final in Cologne, showed up big in the tournament overall. But I think there's more to Twistzz than what we're seeing in FaZe right now. I still think they can get better. So I don't think they're nowhere near. There's more to Twistzz. There's more to FaZe. Yeah, I think Twistzz is a quality player. Like he's one of the best players in the world. He used to be.
I mean, he's been their best player for the last 4 months or some shit now.
Yeah, maybe most impactful.
Is
player,
he?
But I don't think so. Brokey is up there. I think Rain is better.
Brokey had a strong start to the year. Rain had the major pop off. Yeah. But I think
overall, on average, I think Twistzz has been better.
So?
Has been
a bit quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think Robs is the winning discussion. But the thing is, like, this is a conversation that I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into, but I have been getting the feeling, like, especially during that phase, like, run of struggles that they had from after the major. When you looked at them, I almost had the same feeling that I had when I was watching Astralis in terms of how where Robs is when in relation to the rest of the team. Because he is very similarly passive to BlameF, and in general, just in the lurker / anchory roles, a lot of the time you'll just see him end up in situations where there's nothing for him to do. It's already over, you know. And way too much I saw that. I thought I was like, he's way too disconnected a lot of the time. And if he was just a little bit more, if he took just a little bit more initiative, I think FaZe would have a lot more to work with. Now that they won Cologne, it's kind of like that. Like, I can't really say that because they won the biggest event that was there left to take. So it's difficult to fault FaZe, but I still feel like there's space for Robs to have more of an impact. I am curious about what Twistzz meant when he said that Robs just does so much more than people see, or whatever it was that he said on Twitter very recently. I would be happy to talk to him about it and see what exactly he meant by that. I would assume it's just kind of Robs being the nerd that he is, and it's just like bringing up a lot of demos, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of ideas, or just like a lot of these nerdy smokes, a lot of the small shit that you just don't see, if you're in matches or whatever, because that's a lot of prep and stuff like that. So I would imagine he has a lot of impact in that sense. But I do think there's a world where he could be a bit more aggressive, and FaZe would be better for it.
I agree, and I think there's a world where FaZe is better than we're seeing right now. I really do think so. Also with NAVI, right? They didn't have that dip in form FaZe had in this spring as well. Where they did go to Dallas, didn't play well. They did go to the Blast finals, didn't play well, and then they came back into it. So I feel like FaZe is great. FaZe is the best team in the world right now, I guess. But it's still a team that I expect more from in terms of the level of play that we get to see consistently from them.
Okay, well, we will hand out the first E. And it's not a grade, it's an award. So FaZe, first half of 2022, congratulations, team of the break. All right, there we go. Nice little round of applause there. Surprise of the season. Now, I have a couple of nominations I want to put out there. I'm happy to take some of yours. We want to talk about, first of all, the Movistar riders, right? That's one of the more recent ones that just happened at Cologne. Spirit, in both iterations of Spirit, I would say. 00 Nation is definitely one that is building up the recency bias here, just with the new team that came together and won a couple of games. We have Ents, which for a lot of people might turn their head a bit, but considering where they were last year and where they're at this year consistently. Bad News Eagles, everybody loved their run, and Imperial at the Antwerp Major. So those are the names I want to throw into the ring. Are there any other names that we want to add to that list before we start deliberating?
Not really. If we're talking team wise, I think for me,
I mean, are we talking just good surprises or?
Yeah, well, like we didn't see him coming. Like I think.
Okay, I'm just saying. Are we talking also negative surprises?
No, we'll get to worst roster change soon. Don't worry, that's coming.
I think for me, the biggest positive surprise was Imperial at the major, and that's like by far outperforming my expectations and most people's expectations. I think like Bad News Eagles, like people also didn't see coming, and they had a good run, but they, for me, were an up and coming team that I kind of saw doing kind of well. They still outperformed what I expected, but it was in the area, right? I think for Imperial, the way they beat players game at Cloud9, that game was like, that was mind breaking completely. So they are the biggest surprise for me.
Okay. Anyone else want to throw their nomination into the ring?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think there's two different angles to this. I think like a single biggest surprise, I think Imperial was definitely somewhere up there, along with, Movistar now to going to the semifinals. I think that's kind of like similar level surprise to me. But then there's kind of like across the whole season, I think ENCE would probably take that one just because of, we didn't really see them coming as like being a challenger for titles. Obviously, they didn't really get there in the end, but there was a time where we had that discussion about ENCE saying, okay, they are kind of like in the elite now, and I'm not sure that we expected that when we talked about ENCE, 7 months ago, 6 months ago, when they brought in Madden. We knew there was a solid team and they were on the rise, but did we expect them to be kind of like top 4 consistently at like 4 events in a row, whatever it was? Probably not. I don't remember us ever saying anything along those lines. So that's my one.
I agree. I'm going to go with ENCE as well. That's my strongest candidate based on the fact that we are, at least according to me, I feel like we're in an era where all the teams are spending an awful lot of money on players, on salaries, etc., etc. And ENCE, they did it on a budget. They took a different route, sort of like MOUZ in a way, not, with the same academy system. But I'm pretty sure if you asked me, or you guys, in the beginning of the year, do you expect MOUZ or ENCE to be the better team for the first 6 months? It could have been a conversation for both. There was an argument to be made for both. And ENCE did turn out to be a top 3, top 2, top 4 team, for the vast majority of the first 6 months. Yeah, they did slow down a little bit. The last couple of events wasn't looking too solid for them, but overall, ENCE, to me, the fact that they are now a top 5 team, consistently on a budget where they're nowhere near teams like Vitality, G2, NAVI, FaZe for that matter, Liquid, Astralis, you name it. That to me is worth a shout out.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because like the consistency that you guys are talking about there kind of summarizes the season, whereas like in some of the events, like just having Spirit go a deep run, it's like, holy shit, where the fuck did these guys come from, right? Yeah, but that's the thing, like, they're all there because they're definitely honorable mentions, and they should be on this list because they were surprises. So everybody, it's just now we're trying to measure which one was the most surprising.
I have a surprise.
Are you going to say Copenhagen Flames?
Nobody picked up Copenhagen Flames.
Yeah, but that's because they did it last year.
Yeah,
so it wasn't really a surprise this year.
So did Movistar,
surprising?
I mean, not Flames at the major. More, nobody picked them up. As a squad.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know. That just shows. Is that me? Those sirens are my sirens?
Yeah, kind of sounds like yours, yeah.
The cops are coming.
I have a one, that may perhaps be worth a shout as well. The Standin performances we've seen, is
we got a category for that coming. Don't you worry. We got best roster move of the season, worst roster move of the season, stand-in of the season, second best player of the season, and controversy of the season.
Well, so speaks to the significance,
yeah. So
its own category.
Look, I'm happy to see ENCE here. I'm happy to hand it out.
Yeah.
We're happy to hand a big E for ENCE. So that one will be sitting on Natu's shelf. We'll get that one over to him ASAP. And the other teams, definitely honorable mentions in that category. Okay, best roster move of the season. Did I write down some suggestions?
I mean, there's got to be one. That's the biggest one.
FaZe,
yeah.
Brolin to NIP, Crimbo to Big, Monacy to G2, right? They're just a couple. There's plenty more that we could have here, but it has to be the Rops one, right? Just because the correlation has with FaZe.
I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, look at FaZe last year; they were basically fucking useless. Like, they could not get. I mean, but if you look at their run, they only had that Cologne run to this. What was it, semis at that time? Like that was the only thing that FaZe did last year.
Right? Yeah.
That's the only thing that FaZe did last year. Essentially, that was worth talking about. And like now they're a team that's literally the best in the world. So that's got to be like results-wise. There's no
not to be a mood breaker, but I really do want to stress out, that bringing in Robs. Obviously, I agree. It's the signing of the season, no doubt. But it's also like it's not only Robs and his effect coming into the team. It's FaZe actually believing, Kerrigan believing that now he has the 5 tools or the 4 tools in order to be the best team in the world. Imagine being a team like FaZe. Imagine being Kerrigan for such a long time. You're practicing with Olofmeister, who's not really practicing. You don't know if you're going to play another tournament with him. You don't know if he's going to retire or not. You don't know whether or not you get Robs, yada, yada, yada. They were wasting half a year doing nothing because they weren't really practicing and believing in the team they had, right? So I think more so than Robs coming in and having that instant impact, which obviously he did, big part of the reason as well is that the 5 players actually believe in each other now. And that could have been with, take nothing away from Robs, that could have been with another player as well if they felt that he was the right fit for FaZe. So it's not only Robs, and his geniuses coming into the team. It's also the fact that you have a team that actually believe in each other, I feel.
Yeah. So it's not just bringing Robs, it's also cutting Olofmeister.
There you go.
Yes.
There's the other side of the sword. I think we're happy with that, right? Some of these other ones I mentioned just felt weak coming out of my mouth anyway. So this one's another no-brainer. We'll fucking skim over this one.
I mean, Roland to NIP is kind of like they've still been kind of the same, even though he's obviously a big player. Nothing's really changed.
I have another one I want to put in the mix to be completely honest, with a bit of a Danish bias right here. Blame F to Astralis is a massive signing because Astralis would have been
last year.
Was that last year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because they played Copenhagen.
You're right. Sorry,
no, it's all right. Okay. It's all right. I'm glad you got it. Blame.
I just wanted to take my
the,
chance to shit on Astralis one more time.
It's like part of the offseason. I get where you're coming from for sure, because it's kind of like the new team coming in from the new year.
But you get a chance anyway when we talk about worst if we talk about Farley. So you might get a chance, right? Okay, so we're giving that one to Rops. Congratulations, Rops. That's the third award of this evening. Now, this one's fun. Worst roster change of the season. We've got G2 plus Aleksib, Vitality with Magicson Dupree. We've obviously got this whole Farley situation over there with Astralis. There's so many roster changes here that we could probably make. Shox to Liquid.
Shox to Liquid.
Yep. Who else we got?
I have one. It's multiple, but they came together.
Okay.
It's the EG signing trio.
Yeah, you can add them to the list. Yep.
Rush, Stewie, and Automatic. I feel like that's pretty.
I mean, that kind of takes the cake, doesn't it?
Do we think the EG one?
But the thing is, like, they were already pretty low, so it doesn't really make
they
that.
They were already dead, you know.
Yeah, stop. They're already dead. But the way that they, in their eyes, this was the move that was going to take them over the edge, right? And obviously that didn't work out. Maybe we didn't have like the highest expectations overall, and we weren't super excited about it. But I think like it was just a shit move, wasn't it?
Yeah, complexity roster as well should probably be added on that list, because they made changes which at least I thought were better of the set of those two teams that made changes. Like complexities have still been pretty bad too. Like, I don't know if it's been as bad as EG's. Like Vitality went from being a team towards the tail end of last year who were running deep in tournaments to a team now who are struggling to do so.
Also, I don't know. I feel like the Shox one is pretty bad. Like,
that
for
is
me,
pretty bad. Yeah,
it's just because it's so obvious that it can't work and it doesn't make sense on in game or out of game communication. All of these levels just doesn't make sense. It never made sense, and that's why for me it's just it still takes the cake.
Let's take EG out.
Okay.
Right. Let's just because the EG thing, like, EG shouldn't even be in our mouths. Like, we're talking about them because we think it's like we're like, oh,
well, you're the guy that talks about them all the time. So
you're right. Anyway, I will never say those two letters next to each other ever again. All right. So let's forget about those guys. Let's talk about some of these other ones. Like the G2 one, Aleksib is already gone. Right. He joined this year. He's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, were they? They weren't terrible. That's the problem with this one.
No,
right? Like obviously they were made for winning. They didn't win anything, but they still had some deep runs, you know.
But okay, so the Liquid one, Shox was brought in. We were all very skeptical about it. It didn't last very long, and we got the result we kind of expected from that. Does that mean that does like? Because when we're summing this up, worst roster move, are we looking for like one that didn't make sense? How do we want to define this?
I think, I mean,
whoever makes a better argument, essentially.
Yeah, okay. I think it's about the balance, right? Like, what's the expectation and how did it turn out, right? Like, if you look at, I think the Shox one is a big one for me, because if you look at Liquid, and again, I'll reference what we were talking about at the beginning of the year, we were like this. Like, they have an insane trio. Like, in terms of star trios, this is probably one of the strongest. And we thought Liquid were going to be a dangerous team. Like, I remember kind of all of us agreeing on that aspect that at least they were going to be a dangerous team. Sure. Maybe not contending for titles, but they just had a strong enough trio to be a threat. But that didn't happen. I don't like at all. Like, if you look at Liquid this entire season, apart from this Cologne run, they didn't really do any. I don't think they had a single deep run, right?
I don't think so. But like, I would take that and I would do the same thing with like Vitality. They make two, like, or I guess technically three blockbuster signings. They're a team who's already like going deep in tournaments. They make this change to win titles and they don't win anything. Like G2's in the same boat, like with that conversation. They make these changes to be better and then they don't deliver on that. Like, if anything, things result-wise were worse, right?
I think G2 could argue that they were fairly similar to before, but I think Vitality is the big one because Vitality were winning titles before.
Okay.
Vitality still were winning titles until the end of 2021, you know, so
I don't know.
They won IEM, right?
Well,
IEM
yeah,
winter.
of course. But they still won a title, you know, at that time.
Yeah.
So like going into the new year, not even coming close to winning anything. You know,
Lisbon was the closest, right?
Lisbon was their only deep run the entire time again.
Yeah.
So like
I'd give it to Vitality or Liquid. I'd go either of the two.
I'd go for Vitality then, because I feel like Liquid.
The thing is, like, Vitality still didn't give up from those changes. That's why. It doesn't mean.
But
doesn't mean
the
that
expectation
doesn't make
of
it
Shock
better.
for Liquid didn't make any sense anyway. Like Vitality, we could have made a case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure I heard Neff or read somewhere Neff said that he was like hearing about the Shucks rumors, that's one of the things that made him resign for Liquid and not going to EG with Stewie, which was rumored, right?
Still a big
That's a positive thing, yeah, for Liquid. I feel like Shucks actually did do some work in that regard. So ship it to Vitality.
Let's give it a Vitality.
Okay.
Let's give him something. We'll give him a title. We'll give him a trophy. All right, Vitality gonna take worst roster move of the season. Damn. Fuck. All right. But someone had to win it. All right, Jacob, Standin in the season. You were the one picking up. You want to give us, well, it can't give us blame. So if you want to have your jab Astralis, you can talk about Farley.
Standin of the season.
Oh, that's right. He wasn't a stand-in. Oh, that was roster move. We already moved past it.
He's playing like a stand-in. Yeah, I think for standing of the season, I obviously, you know, Snacks and JKS has been the two main talking points. I think the way JKS did it for FaZe was way more impactful and way more, I guess it was tougher to fill in the boots of Rain, tougher to fill in under those circumstances. He was in and out, never knew whether or not he was going to play the playoff or not, and it was just a constant question mark. And he played different roles throughout a tournament as well. JKS, that was the best stand-in performance I've ever seen in my life. Whereas for Snacks, that was just more surprising. You know, it was surprising that Snacks still came back and were somewhat, you know, good at Counter-Strike. We haven't seen him play at a top level for quite some time. So I guess I was more surprised by Snacks, but in terms of who was the better stand-in, JKS in my eyes, no doubt.
I've got some things I want to offer up here because look, you all know where I'm going to vote here, but I wanted to offer these up and get the temperature check of the room. So on the list, I had SDY for NAVI, I had degster for OG, and I had Liquid for YEKINDAR. But I think that those will probably become full-time signings, so it's hard. Like, and you just said not a stand-in, right, Striker?
I mean, with SDY, that's just not a stand-in. I can't repeat this enough.
Exactly.
Can we please stop calling him a stand-in?
Yep.
So that's that definitely not him. OG with degster, I think there's definitely that, like, he was a stand-in at that time. Even if they signed him afterwards, it was more because he stood in for the team. So obviously that's a different situation. But like it just doesn't compare to JKS.
So we're giving it to JKS?
Yeah.
All right.
They won the tournament, one of the biggest tournaments.
Hopefully he gets a team. I'm really trying to sell the guy, man. I don't know what else I can fucking do.
Pretty good job then, man. You
made up this category just to give him something.
Yeah, so he gets something. Yeah, I need to sleep right now, so he won't even see it. But all right, that's stand into the season. Okay, and then what do we have here as the final ones here? Second best player of the season. This is an interesting one. So we all know Simple's the best. There's no point talking about the best. Who cares? Simple's the best. Yeah, we know it. But who's the second best? Lots of names in the mix here. Shiro, Axar, Blame F. Right? There's a lot of names that you can throw into this list. Zywu, right? Who's Brokey? Who's the second best? Because this is going to be from a personal perspective.
If you ask Striker at Twistzz.
Striker?
I didn't say. I didn't say he was the best player of FaZe the entire time, but more like in the last, like when they started struggling, you know.
So who are we making a case for here? Because this is all like this here. I don't know, because I could see it go, yeah, Blame. He's constantly delivering for the team time and time again. He's
barely played any playoff games.
Exactly. Right. And then you bring that into the conversation with some of the other names. Like for me, I could make an argument, two names that I would like gladly throw into the ring. What I was really impressed with is Brokey and Spinx. I would throw those two names like quite quickly towards the top of my list. I don't want to discredit and take away from like Axel Shiro. But and I know that they both played very well over there in Cologne, and the team still kind of got dumpstered. But I think like an impact of a Spinx or a Brokey, and when these teams were going deep in tournaments, that's why I look towards them. Like Brokey has given a different gear this level, and Spinx has just been like a monster. Like how many quiet 30 kills does Spinx have? Like they're always quiet. There's always a quiet 30, and he's just fucking doing it. So I would have those two names towards the top of my list here. I'm open to any discussion on this though.
More recently, I think Spinx has kind of fallen off. So I think that's the biggest problem for me, because he just didn't have the greatest couple of events when ends were struggling. So I think that really detracts from his case.
He also missed out on Dallas. For me, without looking at stats or anything, I go towards Brokey. Early MVP, just had a crazy Katowice event, the way he played, and then the rest of the events he was still pretty good, consistent, right? So and for him, what makes the difference between like a Blame F and also like Exile Shiro is that they had so many deep runs and tournament wins and all these things that he really did get tested against everyone. It wasn't like, oh, just a couple of group stage matches or whatever. He played stage matches, he played everything. So I'm kind of leaning towards him versus the Gambit duo, even though I also think Exile or Shiro could be up there for debate.
The only thing that I like, I feel like Brokey slowed down a little bit as well, but you're right. You know, he played so well in the beginning of the year and had MVP at a couple of big tournaments as well. But I can't help to feel that we're still like, at least according to what I think, yes, ZywOo is still the second best player in the world and has been. He's playing in a dysfunctional team. He's now moving over to speaking English. He's not in his comfort zone anymore. Everyone was, you know, rambling about that. Perhaps, you know,
do you think he is the second best player, or that he performed to the second, like to the level?
I
of
think
the second?
I think he's done enough to still be in the conversation.
Okay.
I'm not going to die on this hill at all, you know. But I can see why you could pick Brokey. I agree with Spinx. He's a little bit too far off, you know. Brokey, yeah, sure, but I still think ZywOo has played well. He's also finishing off at Cologne with a 1.33 rating, I believe. You know, apparently
he just falls in the same category though, Jacob, as Blame though, right? Like not having enough deep runs. That's the problem. Like they're both really good players.
I mean, there's also
But deep runs, you know, the tournaments Vitality are playing are always against the top of the top, right? They're not playing any bad tournaments. They're not playing any, you know, play-in stages. So they did, you know, at Cologne, right? But more often than not, they're not. Whereas I feel like Blame F had a lot of games against less good opponents. So it's kind of padding his stats a little bit and maybe the perception as well. Whereas the argument for Brokey is that he's only getting tested against the best of the best and in the big games where he has delivered. But I still feel ZywOo, given the circumstances and how he's been performing, is up there in the conversations for having been the second best player. And it's at least to me close.
I think NiKo has definitely got to be in that discussion as well, even if like I think it's been, and I've said this as well, I think it's been a little bit too overblown about NiKo not being up to par with the same level as he was like maybe second half of 2021. Yes, compared to the second half of 2021, sure, yeah, because that was maybe his peak time of his career, potentially even, because that was just insane. Like the level that he brought, you know, we were even considering whether he would have been, if it was like the second half of the year only ranking, like would NiKo have actually been in the conversation for the best player in the world at that time, along with Simple and ZywOo, you know? So obviously, you know, compared to that level, it's difficult to match that up, but I think NiKo's still been a really, really fucking strong player these past 6 months.
Yeah, I look, I think there would probably be a lot of agreement on that as well, like, because then you got the regular names in the mix, right? Like Electronic's probably not too far down that list either, but at the same time, I don't know. For me, this is a really hard one. Like,
where are you leaning, Chad?
Like, the thing is, just because, like, I think with the context of the events and who's won what and those kind of things, I'd have to lean to somebody from FaZe, because and it feels like the biggest cop-out part of it. But realistically, Simple's the best, and NAVI still had deep runs, still had final appearances, still had semi-final appearances, and was across the board the best. But then these others are all too spotty, right? Like, I can sit here and I can go, Blame and ZywOo, NiKo, they're all beasts, but did they have enough finals appearances, right? Is that their fault? No, they're still very good players, but they're not going deep and contending for titles or the MVP.
But they also didn't have that much help, you know, in terms of compared to FaZe, because in FaZe you can make the argument for three different people potentially, you know, to be in like a top 10 player in the world, but you can't really say that for a G2. You can't really say that for a Vitality. Like, it's literally just one player, you know?
Yeah, but if you're dropping 50 kills a game,
maybe not one, because you have Hunter, but Hunter was actually,
if you're dropping 50 kills a map, right? Like, if you're that level of a star, like you're doing ungodly, like, world, like that. Like, at the end of the day, Counter-Strike's a team game, and the thing that matters most is winning the trophies, right? So Simple's at least picked up a trophy this year, right? They've been in a major grand final this year. They've been, so like, where we know he goes mammoth, and he's got the resume to back it up, right? The other guys, like NiKo, sure, they were at the start of the year, they were in the grand final in Katowice, and that was an entertaining grand final, right? That was a good game. I enjoyed that. I don't know. I'd probably just go the Brokey.
It's so split, right, with FaZe. Everyone's had an MVP outside of Kerrigan, I believe, this year for FaZe, right? It's so split. Then Rain had a good major and a good period, and Rob started off well in EPL, where he got the MVP, I believe, and then Brokey had a banger beginning of the year but slowed down, and now Twistzz is all of a sudden coming into full force, where Striker's calling him the best player the past couple of months in FaZe, right? I don't see any of them being the second best player though. Like, that's my point.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe we have to award this one to ourselves, the Counter-Strike fans.
I mean,
because everybody's so good.
Like, right, rating wise, it would have been Shiro by some distance, because it's
what are you doing? 2022 on LAN,
2022 top 30. I didn't even do LAN because we had the Rubik Cup, and some of these things will.
Fuck the online stuff,
okay,
bro.
let's do LAN. Let's do LAN.
Get the online shit out of here.
Shiro's going to drop a bunch because of the...
yeah, but back in the day, back before this thing, kids, called COVID happened, you would just call it an onliner. That was it. Online tournaments stopped existing. Navi didn't play
but
LAN,
even if you go LAN, it's simple, and then Shiro and Exile, and then Stown is actually really high. Well,
so do we just give it to Shiro?
So I think it's probably just Shiro or Exile, to be honest, in general, just because of them also having a lot of deep runs, and they've always been super consistent. I mean, especially Shiro.
They won an event.
Consistent.
And I mean, Shiro
Exile more so than Shiro, though, right? I'd say
Shiro MVP of FunSpark Ulti 2021 finals, also very relevant. So I think we take that into account.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying the line would have brought him down, but he's still the second best with Exile, same kind of level.
Yeah, I don't know how we can box this one.
I think Peter's he's in for a rough run. You know, if this continues, this trend continues for the rest of the year.
It's been consistently a harder decision every year in terms of some placing. I feel like so this is along the same lines probably.
All right,
but I mean it's just a lot of different things that go into it.
Let's vote. Striker, pick one.
I'll go with Shiro.
Jacob.
Level.
Rob.
Brokey.
And just for the fucking hell of it here, let me pick a different name on the list. Well, I don't know. I was saying Brokey. We could give out. We could break the E up. We could break the award up into 4 different parts and mail it out. Do we have the postage to deal with that, Lucas?
We're not mailing anything, so
yeah. Well, I'm trying. That's the gag. I'm trying to get Lucas meant to play off. Be like, yeah, you know, we got to do it. I'm gonna give it to JK. No, I'll give it to Brokey. I'm gonna go with Brokey. I'm gonna go with Brokey. Yeah. So we're giving it to Brokey.
But it's very close. Like very close. It's very close. And also, we didn't really like crunch the numbers. It's just more like kind of it's like glancing at stuff and kind of how we remember. So we might be completely wrong on this.
It's just a feel, guys. Sometimes you gotta do things by feeling. Okay, and the final one.
I'm head out to the workshop. I'm cut the award up into 3 pieces.
No, Lucas, keep it. It's just one. What? We just need one. Just one piece. There you go. See, Lucas got the gag.
So
there
we
go.
I
bit more
I was so
comedy.
excited. I'm not allowed to go out there, you know.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Look,
I mean, he divided into 4 pieces, just 4 sticks, man. Like that's a
actually, that's kind of easy to do. Just before you assemble the E. All right. Last one. Controversy of the season, gentlemen. I want nominations here. The ESIC, yes. Monacy.
Monacy Bug. Oh,
yeah.
Bugsy. Yeah. Bugs Bunny.
Who else happened here? There's a bit. I don't think the Boomich one is entering controversy of the year. We're going to leave.
Not really controversial, is it? I think everybody's kind of like there's no controversy about it. I think everybody's pretty much on the same page, man.
Dewey and Starbucks.
Ooh, the Starbucks incident.
That was quite.
I vote for that. I fuck you. Give me the Starbucks incident.
I mean, there's also the recent CSP announcement that just a lot of players just kind of going like, what the fuck?
That can get on the list. So what else happened? Surely
Device
happened.
NIP? Is that
I don't even think we talked about him
started
anymore.
last year.
Device is last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you mention the major thing with the coaches where it's like, oh, you banned
that's
and
ESIC.
then not banned?
That's ESIC. Yeah.
What happened with the Hobbit and
just like everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Hasn't gone anywhere.
Right under the rug.
Yeah, got a big bark and very little bite.
Yeah,
we're biting its
like nobody's even brought it up for like 3 months or whatever.
They lost credibility. They've lost credibility. I'm sorry, it's just not there anymore. Anything that comes out, it's whatever.
Yeah,
it's gone now.
It's the Glaive Cadian. Is that worth mentioning?
I wasn't there. Yes, the breakfast bout.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you'd have to be there to know. We just heard like whoever wasn't there just heard about it, and it's just kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. What else?
They do dislike each other.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that's pretty clear. Yeah.
It's so good. The Cloud9 veto situation being brought up. That one is quite a good one here.
That's a blunder.
That was a good one. The whole conversation around should they have been able to restart the veto? I was like, Jesus, we got to weed these participants. I fucking suck at this word, man. I'm a 33-year-old man who can't say participation award. Like, why do I fucking... I'm going to have to go look in the mirror and do that 10 times before I go to bed tonight. Okay. What else?
One more. We did have the Thorin, calling out Fallen doing the major and then everything popping up. I feel like that was the simple Thorin Fallen thing, right? And to me, it's a controversy because it was actually quite interesting. I feel like there was a point from both sides, being laid out, but it just blew out of control.
Well, that's normally what happens on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
It normally gets fucking nuts.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Like but basically, maybe you missed
Was
it.
it the most overrated player of all
Yeah,
time?
yeah,
I mean,
something like
is that what it is? Okay. I mean,
Yeah, I think that.
What someone just
Yeah.
said, C9 owner hoisting the trophy. I don't know if that's massive controversy.
That was just
Really.
annoying.
So I don't know. I
thought it was good.
think we're pretty good on the. So we have our list. There's surely something we're missing.
I definitely put ESIC logically
Jesus,
being
what
the
is this?
worst. Pancake,
Logically, yeah.
But my heart goes for the Starbucks incident. I can't. That's just outrageous.
What is the Starbucks? I haven't.
No, it's the Dewey and Bollock thing. You didn't read through that?
Oh, fuck hell. Yeah, I did.
TLDR was that they had some issues, and then like the second or third day, Malik was like, "Hey, Stewie, let's go to Starbucks, have some coffee, and talk about. We're not gonna talk about CS. We're just gonna talk, about life,
talk about
get
life.
to know each other, get to know each other." And
You don't
Stewie's
like
like,
that? You don't like
Stewie was like, "Nah."
I'm not ready for that. It's
I'm not.
You're moving at a different pace.
We're moving too fast. Yeah, he
Okay.
goes to them. Deleted them, unmatched on Tinder. Let's go.
Look, I don't know what to make of all these. There's definitely been some silly spats. I don't know.
What do you guys vote for?
I think ESIC, the ESIC one is the most ridiculous because it meant that a coach like Peacemaker had to sit out the major. Right? Like whether that would have changed anything, I don't know. But the fact that anybody's missing the major because of that type of a ruling, that's it. That for me has to be that, and then to walk it back after the major. Hold up. And it's not even like it was. Imagine if they did it to a good team. Imagine if a good team they sidelined a coach for the whole major and then come back and then
And we've also, but I mean, we're not even talking about the fact that we were supposed to hear about all the other coaches before the major started, and we still haven't. Like
meant to
this
be like
happened. It was supposed to happen in the 3 days leading up to the major, and then the first 3 coaches got banned. We were supposed to hear about the fourth coach who was also involved but didn't get banned for the major or suspended or whatever they called it.
Why is everyone listing Roban, by the way, in chat? Wasn't he having to miss it out from previous ban?
Yeah, that's from the first coaching wave.
Yeah, well, he wasn't part of the new one that got.
Yeah, I mean
back,
that's also. I mean, obviously, if you think about first of all, that's last year, so that's old news and not really relevant to this discussion. But it was more about him doing it, and in the game they lost in 16-1 or some shit. Wasn't that what he got banned for? So obviously,
it gotta be.
Okay. There was no advantage. So whatever.
They've been fucking up for a long time.
So is it Starbucks or is it ESIC?
ESIC. We can go.
E6.
So E6 decisions were going to be controversy of the season.
Okay, nice.
Probably also next year. I'd say they can win next year as well.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll start making decisions soon. If we,
Hopefully.
we'll see what happens. Okay, well that concludes the Jonathan's.
We had the event of the season.
I did. It's not here on the thing, but we don't even want to talk about it.
Doesn't matter.
It's people can have their own opinion.
PGL Antwerp, definitely. So
100%. All right. So, do we have anything in the playtime here? I saw you guys putting some questions.
There's some questions. Let me grab.
And then we'll get out of here.
That was a good thread, right?
Yeah, it was a good question on HLTV.
Not a thread, but a comment.
You guys can find it while I play the bomber.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, go.
Bye. All right, we're back. I'm going to throw this one over to Prof, who looks like he has the list.
Okay, so there's first question. You kind of talked about it, SPUNJ, but if there's something to add in this context, can you explain to a pleb like me what casting a BO5 is like on a physical and mental level?
Fun fact. Here's a fun fact. Those arena casts that I did with Machine is the first time that Alex and I have casted an arena game for ESL. It was also 6 weeks separating us from casting anything of the major before we were then casting another event. Just an FYI for everybody who says I cast every single day. But other than that, just to get back on point here, I don't know. I'm just doing my job.
Is it physically demanding?
Was it like
grabbing one card?
No, not at all. It just was fun. It was just fun.
So
I could have kept doing it.
You didn't have the massive come down at the end?
I was sat in front of the dom until 3:30 in the morning, just staring at it.
Oh no, definitely not. Okay.
Yeah, no, I did. I don't know. It was fun. I don't know. I didn't feel physically drained. Mentally, you just focused, right? I don't know. that was it. That was it. It was just some good fun. For me, there wasn't anything like you had to fuel up between maps 3 and 4. You know, you had to have a Snickers bar. I think that was what I had. And that was it. Oh, we went to catering.
That's it for 7 hours.
Yeah,
he doesn't eat enough. He doesn't. You never eat enough, Chad.
That's true. Most days I wouldn't eat before I'd go in either, or if I would eat like some Pringles and have a coffee. Right, that'd be about it. So
Breakfast
that night I went out. After we finished, I went out to the McDonald's before it closed, and I ordered 30 double cheeseburgers, a shitload of nuggets. Not just all for me, but just because everyone know I have some drinks and stuff. So tried to stock everybody up with some McDonald's. But no, just a Snickers bar, and it was great. It was, like I said earlier, it was the most fun I've had in a Counter-Strike moment. So yeah, nothing physically, nothing mental.
There's a question for Striker. Best interview quotes and his electronics. We just came with the certainty that we can fuck the best one.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the rest, which was even as a problem mistranslation. So just to address that part, the problem with the word that he used for what we translated as fuck is that it's kind of impossible to translate properly. It could also be kind of construed as destroy.
Okay.
And, you know, so like you understand the point. You know, it's we have the same word in Czech basically. So I even caught it like while the interview was going on, and it was being translated like in 2 different things. But whatever. That one was big. That one was that's a good quote. Another one would be the Farley one about Device and just like whatever the fuck can I do about that? You know, if Device comes back. So that was a big one. I don't know. I did 20 interviews, man. It's kind of hard to remember.
Historically, I remember, what was there like an Olaf quote, or is it Dennis, when I can't hit like a
I couldn't hit a bar. I couldn't hit a Barnet bus if I wanted to. Yeah,
something like that.
That was mine. That was mine as well.
Got some flag for that one, but not
not really. Not really. I mean, I don't know if he meant for the major or just this. I guess it was supposed to be this season. But well, that would be a hard one. I don't know. I don't remember anything past Cologne, and even from Cologne, I barely remember any of the interviews that I did because I just did quite a lot in a short amount of time.
What do you think of the Nexa? You know, saying that it was the best we could afford.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, that's true. That especially, you know, in hindsight, that's an interesting angle considering they just bought degster, who was, you know, at least a few $100,000.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one.
Okay, there's a question for Prof/Pimp. Best moments on the analysis desk / green room.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Broadcastable moment.
Every moment I share with you is the best.
Yeah, that's not true. I don't know. We had some fun doing the minor and the major, whatever we call it nowadays.
Yeah, bars.
I know about the green room. You know, a lot of fucked up stuff happens. Harry and Hugo tried to hypnotize each other and then hypnotize everyone else.
That game they were playing was bullshit. Whatever that game, like the Snaps game, they thought they were so dumb, smart. You know? They were like fucking 12-year-old little schoolboys running around with their little tricks.
You say that. I figured it out after like 1 or 2 minutes, and you see the rest of the talent in the green room be like,
no, you didn't. You didn't figure it out.
I definitely did figure it out.
It took like 2 or 3 hours. Someone figured it out.
That's the thing. You're dumb as fuck. I was.
No, I didn't. I did not interact with that. I was doing my own thing. I was watching the games and preparing.
You
like you
guys. Okay.
Yeah.
So as everyone can see, you know, they're learning now a little bit about the interactions in the green room. Right here. So do you guys have any? You had some memorable moments, Jacob, when we were over there in Bucharest on day 1, didn't you?
Oh, before that's not in the green room.
You had a bit of a slip and a slide.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. I went to catch some McDonald's actually. It's been in the country for an hour, and I had still my suit jacket on and everything, and I just slipped in the mud. Yeah, and I was my phone even broke. You know, there's still mud in my phone. Yeah. Like I can't use my speakers.
You broke your phone there.
I can't use my speakers in my phone. Like they're not working basically because it's filled with mud. So
you and I both broke our phones at that event.
Yeah,
like everyone was going to that mall, and there's like a normal path, and there's like a Pimp shortcut that's like 3 meters shorter.
I'm pretty sure if you go back now, you could still see the mark, you know, where it was so dumb. Yeah.
I was walking down the street and I literally dropped my phone. I don't know how. I just dropped it like from this height, like, and just face first smashed it. That was real sad. That wasn't much fun. All right, boys, are we got any questions? Are we done?
Yes.
We done?
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, Jacob. If people want to watch more of you, where can they find you, mate? Plug your socials right here. Get them in the right place.
Everywhere on the social medias, man. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. Don't follow on Facebook. That's garbage anyway. You can follow me on all sorts of social, streaming every day on Twitch as well. So feel free to come in there and drop your prime.
There you go. See, there you guys got the plug. Use your primes. All right. Thank you, Jacob, for joining us tonight. Thank you for Prof and Striker to being here. as per the usual, and Lucas for pressing the buttons and playing along with my little bit of fun before. And thank you all for watching. We're going to take, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Like, I'm sure if there's some crazy day where Device announces he's coming back and Striker and I are doing nothing and Prof's off on some sunny beach, we'll whack the stream on and we'll have a chat about things. If there's any like crazy big news, otherwise, we don't have any plans for an episode coming just yet, but we'll keep everybody posted.
I gotta cut you off here. Right? I have a question because I was brought into this episode, I feel, with one purpose, and that was to mock you about the money that you owe me.
Well,
so what's that part?
This is the reason we did the show on my birthday.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Pay up.
So I'm immune today. And I also want to point out the fact that I have not lost yet, even though I will lose. I will gladly concede the fact that I will lose. However, I have not lost today, and I will not lose for about another 45 days. I want to point it out that with this audacious bet that was made, I managed to survive over 3 years of saying an international team will not be consistently for 6 months in the top 3. What an audacious bet on my behalf for 1,000 euros per head. I made
it's your birthday.
Well over 50%. I'm a winner. I feel that I've won here. I know that I've lost financially, but I feel that I've won.
That's cheating, man. You can't do that.
What do you mean?
You even went from 3 years to 5 years to convince us to make the bet, I think.
Yeah.
You fucked up, man. You really did.
I really did. I could have had it. I would have won. If we went by the original terms, I would have won.
Even if you did by top three for 3 years, that would have been
could have done it.
Fine.
I could have done it. I could have pulled it in. But this is the thing is, Jacob, I want to work out which way you'd want the pay. Do you want subs? Do you want a Twitch donation? Do you want a bank transfer? I can't do a novelty size check.
Can I split it up? You know, make it really tough for you. Yeah, I want some in cash for sure. I want you to deliver me money in hand, just to
I want a suitcase, man. Like, just give it to me.
€1 suitcase,
man.
I'll think about it. I have 45 days to figure it out. You know, you enjoy your birthday, and I'll come back.
I don't know the exact date. I'm sure we've got it somewhere. There's a Twitter account to deal with it.
I think it's September, or is it beginning of September?
Something like that. So I still have some time, and that's good because I need to get a couple of extra invoices out there to Martin to pay for this. So, but Striker, do you have any requests here, or you just want it to be like 1 month you just get paid a little bit more?
No. I think the suitcase is a good idea.
Well, I'm gonna have. Does the suitcase come out of the money I have to give you here? I'm gonna have to buy a
No, that's an expense.
You return the suitcase. You return the suitcase.
I'll give it back. I'll gladly give it back.
Okay, all right.
For you to give to Pimp his share, you know. So.
All right, I'll work it out. I'll work out how to do it. But I am gonna lose. It was a fun ride, but
there's always a chance that FaZe just decide, okay, enough's enough, and we're gonna end up on a high, and they're just gonna fucking 2 people just drop.
Nice. Anything's possible here. I'm gonna hold on to the very last moment, but I know that I'm defeated. So now it's just out of stubbornness. But cool. All right, we're done. We're off. Everyone's had a good time. We've spoken about a lot. We've had some hot takes. And we've done just under 3 hours, literally just under. So thank you for watching. Thank you to all the viewers who tune in and make this possible every week. We hope you enjoy playing some FaZe and ES Portal and all that good stuff in the off time, and might see you guys on the server. Good night.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.